Hey there, sleepyhead. Welcome back to the channel before we drift into tonight's tale of Adventure Time reimagined in different art styles. I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from tonight? And what time is it for you right now? Drop it in the comments below. It's always magical seeing how far and wide this sleepy little community reaches. All right, lights low, blankets up. Let's begin. Tonight, we wander into a version of Ooh shaped not by chaos or whimsy alone, but by the quiet, tender breath of nature itself. Imagine the familiar hills and winding forests of the land of Ooh painted in that gentle, hand-brushed glow you see in old Studio Ghibli films, where the earth feels alive and the sky seems to think its own soft thoughts. In this version of the world, nothing is rushed. Everything has a spirit. Even the smallest blade of grass leans with intention, as if listening for the next story carried on the wind. Finn begins his tale in this Ghibli not as a warrior of destiny, but as a wandering guardian of the forest paths. His steps are light, almost musical against the mossy ground, and there's a kindness in the way he observes the world around him. Leaves flutter gently as he passes, as if greeting an old friend. Birds perched on branches turn their heads ever so slightly, acknowledging the boy with the blue hat who protects the quiet, living things. There is bravery in him still, but it's quieter here, softened by the comforting hum of nature. It's the bravery of someone who listens first, speaks gently, and fights only when the forest itself trembles. Beside him drifts Jake, not merely stretching and shifting with playful elasticity, but moving with the warm, flowing ease of an ancient forest spirit. His body glows faintly with a soft, amber tone, as though carrying the light of an old tree's heartwood inside him. When he stretches, the movement resembles the bending of branches in the summer breeze, each curve smooth and serene. Villagers tell stories about beings like him, old kami who wander the land disguised as animals, watching over travelers and guiding lost souls home. Jake, of course, would laugh at such stories, but the truth hangs gently around him like morning mist. He feels older here, wiser in a dreamy, easygoing way. Princess Bubblegum's Candy Kingdom becomes something entirely different when seen through this gentle lens. Gone are the bright straight lines and bold sugary shapes. Instead, imagine a kingdom nestled in the folds of rolling green meadows where cottages are grown rather than built, sprouting like sleepy mushrooms along winding cobblestone paths. PB is still a scientist at heart, but her science blends seamlessly with ancient alchemy. She shapes life from warm clay and sweet crystal sap, creating small candy creatures who hum softly as they toddle through the gardens. In Ghibli she feels like a benevolent inventor, the kind who lights lanterns late at night to help lost travelers find their way. And then far at the horizon, where the mountains breathe slow streams of silver mist, sits the Ice King's lonely spire. Here he is transformed not into a manic wizard shouting from icy towers, but into something gentler and more sorrowful. He becomes a winter sage watched over by tiny frost sprites who cling to his cloak like drifting snowflakes. The air around him sparkles, not sharply, but with a soft, shimmering sadness. He spends his days wandering the snowy terraces, searching for something he cannot name. Guided only by the lullaby of the wind, his loneliness feels ancient, but not hopeless. It carries that tender melancholy you find in the quietest parts of a winter forest. In this reimagined Ooh, magic comes not from dramatic bursts or chaotic spells, but from the gentle breath of the world itself. The trees whisper stories of the past. Rivers carry memories of the mushroom war, though softened by moss and time. The land is healing, slowly returning to peace under the watchful eyes of its spirits. And somewhere deep within these woods, older than any kingdom or crown, lies the great spirit of Ooh, a guardian presence that watches the world with patient, loving eyes. It does not speak in words, but in rustling leaves, dancing motes of light, and a quiet feeling that the land remembers both its pain and its hope. In this softened, dreamlike world, Finn and Jake often find themselves following winding forest trails that shimmer with pale sunlight filtering through ancient branches. The trees here are tall enough to touch the drifting clouds, and each trunk is etched with swirling markings that seem to shift when you're not looking directly at them. These markings are said to be the silent language of the land, a way for the forest to record stories across centuries. Finn sometimes pauses to rest his hand on the bark, hoping to feel a faint echo of the past vibrating beneath his palm. And occasionally, when the wind hushes for a moment, he thinks he hears something, a distant memory carried from long before the world was broken. In the mornings, when the dew hangs heavy on the wildflowers, Jake often leads Finn to the edge of a great meadow where tiny, glowing creatures rise like lanterns waking from sleep. They drift lazily upward, leaving trails of soft, golden dust that shimmer like the remnants of forgotten magic. The locals call them dawn sprites, gentle beings who gather the first light of day and scatter it across the land. Jake loves them, not just because they're pretty, but because they respond to his presence with gentle curiosity, circling him in warm spirals as if welcoming a long-lost companion of the woods. Even the ruins scattered throughout this version of Ooh have a gentler story to tell. Instead of harsh reminders of devastation, they appear softened by moss and wild vines, as though nature has wrapped her arms around old wounds. Finn and Jake often explore these crumbled remains, letting their imaginations wander through what once was. Finn might kneel beside a cracked stone tablet etched with unfamiliar runes, while Jake stretches himself into long, looping shapes to peek into hidden alcoves. Together, they uncover fragments of history, shattered relics, worn carvings, wilted banners, each one whispering hints of the world before the war. None of these revelations feel frightening. Instead, they carry a quiet sadness, the kind that encourages reflection rather than fear. Princess Bubblegum's presence brings another layer of wonder to this world. Her laboratory is not a sterile, metallic place, but a warm, glowing sanctuary filled with bubbling cauldrons, floating jars of luminous nectar, and shelves stacked with colorful vials. She works in harmony with the land, borrowing ingredients from enchanted springs or requesting the help of mischievous candy spirits who float like drifting petals around her workspace. Her inventions are shaped with both science and empathy, each creation carrying a hint of the vibrant, living essence of Ooh itself. When she speaks, her voice carries the soft, steady cadence of someone deeply connected to the world around her, a queen who understands that healing takes time and patience. Every now and then, PB invites Finn and Jake to accompany her on quiet expeditions into the heart of the forest. They travel slowly, enjoying the serene beauty of the surrounding. Sometimes they discover ancient shrines half hidden beneath blooming wisteria. Other times, they encounter gentle forest creatures with fur like drifting clouds and eyes that shimmer like dew. Finn always feels humbled in these moments, aware that Ooh is far older and wiser than any one hero. Jake, meanwhile, often takes it upon himself to act as an ambassador of friendliness, stretching into amusing shapes to win the trust of shy woodland beings. Marceline exists in this Ghibli reimagining as well, though in a form softened by the dreamy atmosphere of the land. She is often seen drifting through twilight groves with her base slung across her back, her presence quiet and almost ghost-like. The trees seem to lean toward her when she plays, drinking in the low, gentle hum of her melodies. She doesn't frighten the spirits here. Instead, she becomes part of their nocturnal lullaby, her music blending with the soft chirping of night creatures. There is something ancient in her gaze, but it's wrapped in warmth, as if she's found peace in the stillness of this enchanted ooh. Even the air feels different in this world. There is a softness to it, a kind of sleepy warmth that makes every breath feel like a gentle embrace. Clouds drift slowly across the sky, painted with hues of peach and lavender, and sometimes Finn swears he sees figures moving within them, spirits traveling from mountaintops to rivers, weaving unseen paths through the heavens. And always beneath it all is the subtle sense that Ooh itself is alive, aware, and watching over its inhabitants with a tender, motherly calm. The magic in this Ghibli Ooh is quiet but pervasive, the kind that doesn't announce itself with explosions or dramatic displays. Instead, it whispers. A leaf twirls down from a tree and lands perfectly atop a brook, redirecting the water just slightly, as if the forest itself were guiding the stream. Fireflies gather in clusters, forming fleeting shapes that vanish the moment you try to focus on them, leaving only a lingering sense of wonder. Finn and Jake learn early on that in this world, magic is less about control and more about listening. Listening to the heartbeat of the land, to the gentle sigh of wind through branches, to the soft murmur of streams carrying stories from distant hills. On days when the sunlight filters through the canopy just right, the forest seems to transform entirely. Mist rises from the ground in pale golden ribbons, curling around the trunks of ancient trees, and shadows stretch lazily, almost like sentient beings moving alongside the travelers. Finn often walks silently through these glades, feeling as though he's treading along a path that has existed long before he was born, a path laid out not by maps or signs, but by the quiet rhythms of the world itself. Jake stretches and flows beside him, his amber glow reflecting in the mist, a living reminder that some things, friendship, courage, the warmth of companionship, remain constant, even in a world that hums with so much quiet mystery. The creatures of this Ghibli-oo are equally enchanting. Small woodland spirits, invisible to most, sometimes brush against Finn's cloak or tug gently at Jake's ears, curious but shy. Deer with antlers like braided branches watch silently from the tree line. Tiny birds with iridescent feathers sing melodies so soft they could easily be mistaken for the wind itself. And when night falls, the forest glows with bioluminescent flowers, their petals opening slowly, revealing warm, golden centers that seem almost to pulse with the memory of past lives and lost times. Finn and Jake often pause in these moments, lying on the soft moss to watch the gentle play of light and shadow, feeling the kind of calm that can only come from truly being part of a living, breathing world. The Ghibli reimagining also transforms the landmarks of Ooh in subtle, enchanting ways. The Candy Kingdom is still recognizable, but it grows organically from the land rather than being constructed upon it. Towers curl like sugarcane stalks. Cottages are capped with roofs that appear to bloom like flowers, and the streets are lined with hedges of living candy that sway and lean, almost greeting passers-by. Inside, Princess Bubblegum's lab feels like an alchemist's atelier, filled with softly glowing vials and instruments that hum quietly with latent magic. She often works with her creations beside her, tiny candy creatures moving about the benches and shelves, their movements careful and deliberate, as if they too understand the harmony of this world. Peavy herself is serene yet vibrant, her intelligence and curiosity softened by her connection to the land. Every formula she brews, every experiment she conducts, seems to grow naturally from the essence of the world, rather than imposing on it. Even the Ice King's palace takes on a gentler air, His tower, though still frosted and ethereal, shimmers like crystal in moonlight rather than looming oppressively. The walls are etched with frost patterns that tell quiet stories of forgotten winters, each flake carved with care. He drifts through his halls with a sense of melancholy that is almost tender. Instead of seeking dominion or power, he wanders like a solitary snow spirit, yearning for companionship he cannot quite name. Small frost sprites hover around him, leaving trails of sparkling powder as they flit from ledge to ledge, reminding him that he is not entirely alone. It is this soft, wistful tone that makes him less a villain and more a tragic figure, a being shaped by longing and loss, who, like all of Wu, carries memory and history quietly in his bones. And then there are the moments of sheer unspoken wonder, when Finn and Jake stumble upon hidden clearings, where sunlight pours like liquid gold, when they find streams that hum softly, as though speaking in ancient tongues, or when the wind itself seems to form gentle shapes that guide them deeper into the heart of the forest. Each of these moments is imbued with that signature Ghibli charm, a deep reverence for life, an understanding of impermanence, and the gentle, inevitable passage of time. Even danger, when it arises, feels muted, more like a lesson or a test from the world than a threat. A fallen branch may block the path, or a sudden fog may obscure the way, but the challenge is never cruel. Instead, it encourages attentiveness, empathy, and the kind of patience that can only grow from feeling truly connected to the world. The characters' relationships in this version of Wu also take on a quiet, intimate rhythm. Finn and Jake's bond feels like a living melody, composed of shared silences as much as laughter. Their adventures are gentle, exploratory, sometimes simply wandering rather than battling, because the story of the land itself demands reflection as much as action. Princess Bubblegum's interactions with them are layered with subtle warmth and trust, more like the giving of gentle guidance than issuing commands. Marceline drifts in and out like a quiet shadow of twilight, offering songs that stir memories and emotions without ever breaking the tranquil mood of the forest. And even the Ice King, in all his sorrow, has moments of soft humor and vulnerability that remind everyone, including the viewer, that even those shaped by loneliness are capable of tender, human-like connection. In this soft, enchanted Wu, the Mushroom War is not erased, but it is reframed. Its remnants, old ruins, scattered artifacts, and whispered stories exist not as harrowing reminders, but as gentle echoes of history, softened by the passage of time. Moss and vines climb over crumbled walls, sunlight warms broken streets, and the world carries these memories like a sigh rather than a wound. Finn and Jake often stumble upon these echoes, lingering to reflect, to honor, to understand. And in these moments, the viewer senses that Wu itself is a living chronicle, a world that heals and remembers simultaneously, where the scars of the past are never forgotten, but are held gently, like a lullaby hummed to a child as they drift to sleep. As the sun begins its slow descent, casting long amber streaks across the rolling hills and whispering forests of this Ghibli Wu, Finn and Jake often find a quiet place to rest. Perhaps it's a small hill overlooking a glimmering pond, where the water mirrors the sky in soft pastel shades, or a grove where the trees arch overhead to form a natural cathedral of leaves. Here, the sounds of the world are gentle. The low hum of insects, the occasional splash of fish leaping from the water, the soft rustle of leaves stirred by an evening breeze. It is in these moments that the full heart of this reimagined Wu becomes clear. A world where every detail, no matter how small, contributes to a sense of harmony and wonder. Finn often lies back on the cool grass, his fingers tracing patterns in the moss as he listens to the quiet murmur of life around him. He notices how the flowers tilt their faces toward the fading sun, how the clouds drift lazily as if carrying their own secrets, how even the distant mountains seem to hum with a serene energy. Jake curled beside him, stretching into whimsical shapes to make a soft pillow or forming a gentle canopy to shield Finn from a stray sunbeam. In these quiet pauses, they are not adventurers racing against time or enemies, but simply companions in a world that invites observation and reflection. The magic here is subtle, woven into the very fabric of the landscape, teaching that courage and wonder can exist even without loud battles or dramatic declarations. The creatures of the land continue to enrich this dreamlike tapestry. Tiny fox-like spirits peek from behind ferns, curious but cautious. Birds with wings that shimmer like liquid silver flit between the branches, their songs carrying the soft resonance of memories long past. And when night falls, the forest transforms into a realm of soft luminescence, where glowing fungi create gentle paths, and fireflies gather in the swirling patterns reminiscent of floating lanterns. Marceline drifts through these twilight hours, her bass producing low, soothing tones that blend seamlessly with the natural hum of the world. Her music becomes part of the night itself, a lullaby that comforts both the wandering spirits and the heroes who pass through. Princess Bubblegum, ever attentive to the rhythm of her environment, often joins Finn and Jake during these tranquil hours. She moves with a quiet grace, carrying glowing vials or tiny creations that flit around her like living sparks. In her presence, the trio's adventures are less about conquest and more about discovery, finding secret glades, uncovering hidden springs, or listening to the soft stories the land seems eager to share. PB's intelligence in this interpretation is tempered by empathy. She does not command the land. She communes with it, understanding that Oo's magic is alive and that its mysteries unfold only when approached with respect and patience. Her leadership is gentle, like guiding a child through a world both vast and tender. Even the Ice King's solitude in this Ghibli Ooh holds a certain melancholy beauty. His tower, adorned with soft icicles and delicate frost patterns, gleams in the pale light of early evening. He drifts through the halls slowly, accompanied by the faint whispers of frost sprites. There is no urgency in his wandering, no frantic scheming, only a quiet longing, a search for something lost, something he may never find. And yet, he is not wholly sorrowful. Moments of unintended kindness, flashes of humor, or brief interactions with the land spirits hint at the warmth still lingering beneath his frozen exterior. In this way, even he becomes part of the gentle rhythm of Ooh, a being shaped by longing but harmonized with the world around him. The land itself seems to breathe alongside the characters, expanding and contracting with a serene pulse that mirrors the passing of time. Rivers glint in the fading light, carrying the reflections of the clouds above. Meadows sway softly as the wind courses through them, and forests stretch toward the horizon with a quiet patience that suggests both wisdom and eternity. Finn and Jake, in their wanderings, learn that to exist in this world is to pay attention, to be receptive to its soft instructions, and to honor the life embedded in every stone, leaf, and ripple of water. Adventure here is contemplative. It is an exploration of connection, empathy, and gentle curiosity rather than a rush toward victory or fame. As night deepens, lanterns made of glowing blossoms and floating dewlight appear throughout the land, illuminating paths in soft, flickering gold. The trio sometimes pauses to walk among them, feeling the hushed magic settle around them like a comforting quilt. Each light seems to pulse with the memory of a story, an emotion, or a lesson, and Finn finds himself marveling at the depth of history embedded in even the tiniest details of Ooh. Jake drifts lazily above the ground, forming shapes to mimic the lights, creating small constellations of his own as if to honor the quiet wonders of the forest. And PB, carrying a small, glowing vial in her hands, smiles softly, knowing that in this world, discovery and creation are inseparable from love, care, and gentle attentiveness. The quiet of Ghibli Ooh teaches patience. Every interaction, every journey, every moment of reflection feels like it is part of a larger rhythm, a breathing, living story that stretches across centuries. There is a comfort in knowing that while the world has scars and memories of old conflicts, it has chosen softness, healing, and wonder as its defining traits. Finn, Jake, PB, and even the Ice King are travelers in this luminous, serene tapestry, each carrying their own stories, each learning from the world as much as it learns from them. The land holds them tenderly, allowing both triumph and loss to coexist in quiet balance. And as the moon rises, casting a pale silver glow over the rolling hills, tranquil forests, and softly glowing rivers, there is a sense of timelessness. Ooh, in this gentle reimagining, is not merely a place. It is a living lullaby, a meditation on wonder and empathy, a reminder that even in a post-apocalyptic world, peace, beauty, and magic can persist when one listens closely enough. Finn and Jake settle beneath a large oak whose branches cradle them like a guardian's arms, the fireflies drifting lazily around them, Marceline's soft bass echoing in the distance, and Princess Bubblegum's gentle glow illuminating the paths that lie ahead. The great spirit of Ooh, unseen but deeply felt, hums quietly in every rustling leaf and shimmering stream. It is here, in this softly breathing world, that our heroes and we learn to pause, to reflect, and to fall into the gentle rhythm of life itself. Before we drift into the shadows of tonight's tale, take a moment to notice the quiet around you. Maybe your room feels a little cooler, or the faint hum of the night reaches your ears. Wherever you are, whatever hour it is, let yourself sink a little deeper into your blankets. Tonight we step into a version of Ooh, where the world has aged, where magic twists in shadowed corners, and where the air itself carries the weight of forgotten histories. In this dark fantasy Ooh, the land is fractured, scarred by centuries of battles and abandoned kingdoms. Rolling hills are dotted with ruined keeps and towers that lean precariously, as though the earth itself mourns the conflicts that once raged here. The sky often hangs low, muted with the gray and violet tones of lingering storm clouds, occasionally pierced by thin shafts of cold sunlight. The Mushroom War still lingers in memory, but here it is not softened by healing nature or enchanted forests. Its remnants are jagged and raw, echoing through the twisted forests and broken cities like whispers of a cautionary tale. Every ruined wall, every shattered statue seems to hold a secret, waiting for those brave enough to listen. Finn, in this realm, takes on a heavier mantle. He is no longer merely a cheerful adventurer. He becomes a wandering knight shaped by loss and survival. His armor is worn, scratched by battles both remembered and forgotten. His sword is not just a weapon, but a companion, forged long ago in fire and shadow, etched with runes that hum faintly with protective magic. There is a solemnity in his step, a quiet awareness that danger could emerge at any turn, not as a game, but as a living threat. Yet beneath the gravity of his role, Finn retains a spark of curiosity and hope. He observes the crumbling world with reverence, recognizing both its horrors and its beauty, understanding that heroism here requires patience as much as courage. Jake, too, is transformed in this darkened version of Ooh. His shape-shifting is no longer playful whimsy, but a mysterious, almost uncanny ability that inspires both awe and caution. Some villagers whispered tales of the shapeshifter who can become anything, bending not only flesh but perception itself. He glides through shadowed alleys and ruined courtyards, sometimes taking monstrous forms to protect those in need, sometimes appearing as an innocuous companion to avoid frightening those who are already wary. His warmth remains, but it is tempered by a sharper edge, a reminder that in this realm, even the gentle-hearted must adapt to survive. Princess Bubblegum's kingdom is a fortress in this version of Ooh, a place of alchemical genius and hidden peril. The towers are jagged, blackened at the edges from magical experiments gone awry. Inside, corridors twist unpredictably, lined with shelves of glowing vials, arcane tomes, and devices that seem to hum with dark energy. Peebee herself is no longer only a scientist. She is a strategist, a ruler who balances compassion with a keen awareness of danger. Her mind constantly measures risk and opportunity, crafting solutions that preserve life while defending against the very magic that sometimes threatens to consume it. In the dark forest beyond her walls, she sends scouts, both living and enchanted, to gather intelligence, knowing that in this Ooh, knowledge is as vital as strength. The Ice King in this realm is perhaps more tragic than he ever was in the brighter lands of Ooh. He is not simply lonely or deluded. Here he has become a Lich of Frost, a sorcerer whose crown binds him to the spirits of winter long past. His palace rises like a jagged glacier from a frozen lake, casting long, cold shadows over the desolate landscape. Every icicle glimmers with faint echoes of the souls trapped within the magic of the crown. He wanders the halls and courtyards of his fortress, murmuring to voices that only he can hear, haunted by memories of what he once was and what he could never regain. Yet even in his despair, there is a strange beauty. Patterns of frost that form delicate shapes, frozen in time, like sorrow rendered in crystalline art. Marceline, too, shifts into the dark fantasy Ooh with elegance and shadow. She becomes a nocturnal wanderer of the ruins, her bass now resonant with low, haunting tones that stir echoes in the stone and wind. She is both guide and observer, moving through the night with grace, her presence simultaneously comforting and unnerving. She carries the weight of long centuries, her memories of humanity and loss, woven into the music she plays. Villagers and travelers sometimes glimpse her from afar, mistaking her for a spirit or omen, though those who know her understand the warmth behind her haunting visage. Marceline here embodies the bittersweet duality of the world, a mixture of melancholy, wisdom, and hidden kindness. Traveling through the dark fantasy Ooh, Finn and Jake often encounter remnants of older, forgotten civilizations. Stone bridges lie broken across deep chasms, their surfaces engraved with symbols long eroded. Forests are thick and overgrown, but the trees themselves bear the scars of magical conflicts. Branches twisted unnaturally, bark scorched or blackened, leaves tinged with strange iridescent hues. Wolves with eyes like smoldering coals stalk through the underbrush, their movements silent but deliberate, reminding all who wander that the wild itself has learned to survive in cunning and caution. Every shadow could conceal something alive, and yet even in this heightened danger, moments of fragile beauty emerge. Tiny wildflowers sprouting between broken stones, sunlight briefly illuminating a sparkling web, a faint song echoing across an empty courtyard. Magic in this version of Ooh is potent and perilous. It is not playful or benign. It twists, bends, and sometimes consumes, leaving faint traces on everything it touches. Spells leave scorch marks on stone and ash upon the earth, and enchanted creatures carry both majesty and menace. Finn often studies these phenomena with careful attention, learning that understanding the patterns of magic is often more valuable than wielding force. Jake assists him, using his shifting abilities to uncover hidden pathways, create diversions, or protect them from unpredictable enchantments. Their adventures are measured, each decision weighted with both curiosity and caution. In this shadowed ooh, the landscapes themselves tell stories of power loss and resilience. Crumbling castles perch atop jagged cliffs, overlooking valleys where rivers run thick with mist and memory. Villages cling to the edges of forests, their wooden walls blackened by ancient fires and defended by wards that glow faintly in the moonlight. Finn often walks these paths slowly, listening to the whispers of the wind as it threads through broken stone and twisted trees. Every gust seems to carry fragments of old conversations, lost laughter, the sighs of those who came before, teaching him that history is not merely written in books or monuments, but etched into the very bones of the world. Jake's role here is a mixture of protector and observer. He often stretches across gaps to form bridges over yawning chasms, or wraps his long limbs around Finn to shield him from falling debris. His humor, once bright and playful, now carries a darker edge, often appearing in sly smiles or quiet, knowing looks when Finn narrowly escapes danger. There is a sense that even in the deepest darkness, Jake is a tether to warmth, a reminder that companionship and loyalty can persist when the land itself seems to brood in shadow. He moves with precision and intuition, sensing threats before they emerge, his shape-shifting a living echo of the world's unpredictable, often dangerous rhythms. Princess Bubblegum's fortress rises like a beacon of cunning amidst this perilous realm. The architecture is angular and dark, yet beautiful in a haunting, deliberate way. Faint magical lights pulse from windows and towers, revealing corridors lined with forbidden knowledge and enchanted artifacts. Here her scientific genius intersects with her political acumen, creating a balance of power and preservation. She is cautious, yes, but she also demonstrates the quiet strength of someone who understands that, in this world, mercy and strategy must coexist. Her decisions ripple outward, influencing the lives of villagers, adventurers, and wandering spirits alike. Even the creatures of Ooh, from fox spirits to wolves, seem to sense her presence, approaching with a mixture of curiosity and respect, recognizing the subtle authority she exerts without cruelty. The Ice King, now a frost-bound lich, drifts through a world that mirrors his inner desolation. His crown, more than just a magical artifact, binds him to a past filled with sorrow and longing. Frozen courtyards echo with hollow footfalls, halls shimmer with a pale, haunting light, and delicate frost spirals along every surface as if the very air remembers his presence. Yet there are fleeting moments of softness. Sometimes he pauses to watch a solitary snowflake twirl gently to the ground, or he hums a forgotten tune that drifts through the empty halls. These small gestures hint at a lingering humanity beneath his icy exterior, a quiet reminder that even in a realm steeped in darkness, fragments of the self can endure. Marceline's nocturnal wanderings through the dark fantasy ooh bring a layer of melancholy beauty to the world. She traverses forests twisted by old spells, her bass echoing low, mournful chords that resonate in the hearts of anyone who listens. Occasionally, her melodies summon ghostly visions of the past, flickering images of old battles, forgotten allies, and lost cities. She is both guide and chronicler, moving silently among shadows, illuminating truths that many prefer to leave buried. Her presence is unsettling, yet comforting. She reminds Finn and Jake, and anyone who follows, that the world is layered, and its stories are never truly gone. They linger in echoes, music, and memory. Even ordinary dangers in this darkened ooh carry a heightened significance. A falling branch is not merely a hazard, but a reminder of fragility, a subtle test of attention and care. A shadow moving among the trees could be a wolf, a mischievous spirit, or a lingering curse, forcing Finn to approach every situation with thoughtfulness and adaptability. The sense of peril is constant but not suffocating. It teaches mindfulness, patience, and courage in the face of uncertainty. Every encounter, every choice feels meaningful, and the weight of history and consequence hangs in the air like the faint scent of rain on cold stone. The remnants of the Mushroom War appear differently here. Ruined cities are draped in ivy and fog, but their devastation is still raw. Broken towers lean over shattered plazas, and the remains of machines lie half buried in the earth, quietly rusting. Occasionally, Finn and Jake discover fragments of old spells, magical relics that hum with residual energy, hinting at the catastrophic power wielded in ages past. These discoveries are never entirely safe. Magic here is unpredictable, carrying consequences both immediate and unseen. And yet, in exploring these ruins, Finn and Jake find small victories, restoring a ruined fountain, coaxing a frightened creature from the shadows, or piecing together fragments of a long-lost tale. These moments provide a subtle, quiet hope, reminding both characters and viewers that even amidst darkness, light can persist in fragile, unexpected forms. The forests of this dark fantasy ooh are no less alive than the ruins and fortresses. Trees twist unnaturally, their gnarled branches reaching like skeletal fingers, yet within their shadows live small wonders. Bioluminescent fungi, hidden groves of delicate flowers, and streams whose waters shimmer with the faint reflection of stars. Finn and Jake learn that the forest tests those who enter it. They must observe, adapt, and respect its hidden rules, understanding that survival depends as much on empathy and attentiveness as it does on courage and strength. And sometimes when they pause to listen, the forest seems to sigh around them, acknowledging their presence with subtle, almost imperceptible gestures. A flicker of light, the rustle of leaves, the distant echo of a song. As Finn and Jake navigate deeper into this shadowed ooh, the world grows more intricate, more deliberate in its quiet menace. Paths twist through dense forests, where the trees themselves seem to lean in, watching travelers with ancient, knowing eyes. Moss and lichen coat the ground, softening footsteps, yet hiding roots and stones that could trip the unwary. Every step feels laden with consequence. Here, magic is not simply a tool. It is alive, unpredictable, and often demanding respect. A spell cast carelessly might awaken something long dormant, or shift the balance of a forest glade in subtle, unsettling ways. Finn learns to move with mindfulness, to observe the nuances of this world, and to act only when he understands the full weight of his choices. Jake continues to serve as both protector and companion in ways that feel more vital than ever. His shape-shifting takes on a darker, almost uncanny quality. He can stretch into monstrous forms to shield Finn from dangers that lurk in shadow, or mimic the twisted shapes of the environment to blend seamlessly into the gloom. There is an artistry to his transformations, a recognition that even in darkness, fluidity and adaptability are essential. Jake becomes an extension of the forest itself, moving with intuition, guiding Finn through threats both seen and unseen, reminding viewers that friendship and loyalty are as potent as magic in a world that tests every step. The ruins scattered across the land are more than remnants, they are storytellers. Fallen castles lean precariously, their towers reaching toward a sky perpetually cloaked in the muted grays and purples of twilight. Streets that once rang with laughter now lie silent, covered in moss and ash. Broken statues, worn banners, and charred gates speak to a civilization that once sought grandeur, now left to the slow reclamation of nature. Yet within these ruins, life persists in unexpected ways, small plants pushing through cracks in stone, birds nesting in hollowed statues, and even scattered magical relics that hum faintly in the dark. Finn often pauses to study these fragments, piecing together the history of a world where heroism and tragedy coexist, where every loss carries a lesson and every ruin holds memory. Princess Bubblegum's role in this realm reflects the harsh elegance of survival. Her fortress, jagged and imposing, sits atop a hill overlooking the fractured lands, a place where intellect and strategy rule alongside magic. Within its walls, laboratories hum with arcane energy. Corridors twist in labyrinthine patterns, and shelves overflow with concoctions and relics, both wondrous and dangerous. Peebee's presence is commanding yet measured. She understands that in a world so steeped in peril, every decision carries far-reaching consequences. She carefully balances innovation and caution, often sending scouts and enchanted agents into the forests to gather knowledge of the land's ever-shifting threats. Her wisdom is quiet, but pervasive, and even in moments of tension, there is a sense of restrained hope, the belief that intelligence, foresight, and empathy can navigate even the darkest nights. The Ice King's transformation in this realm is both tragic and hauntingly beautiful. His crown has twisted his mind and body, anchoring him to centuries of frost and memory. He wanders through glacial halls and frozen courtyards, speaking to voices only he can hear, haunted by desires and regrets that no spell can fully erase. Yet there is artistry in his sorrow, every pattern of frost on his walls, every shimmer in the pale light, seems deliberately delicate, as though the world itself acknowledges his suffering while offering faint glimpses of beauty. At times he pauses to observe a snowflake twisting lazily to the ground or to trace his fingers along frozen carvings that speak of forgotten joy. In these moments, even he appears almost tender, a figure trapped between the cruelty of fate and the remnants of a heart that still seeks connection. Marceline's presence is equally vital to the dark fantasy Ooh. She moves like a shadow through ruins and forests, her bass resonating with low, haunting tones that stir echoes in stone and earth alike. Her music carries the weight of centuries, touching memories of battles fought, friends lost, and cities forgotten. She is a guide for Finn and Jake, offering wisdom shaped by experience and memory, showing that even in darkness, there are ways to navigate with grace. Her melodies often reveal truths hidden in the ruins, the faint shimmer of a protective spell, the whispers of a spirit bound to stone, or the subtle signs of a path that has remained unseen for decades. In her music, there is both caution and comfort, a reminder that knowledge and intuition are as crucial as courage in a world where danger lurks in every shadow. The creatures of this realm mirror the harsh elegance of their environment. Wolves with eyes like smoldering embers stalk silently through the underbrush. Spirits of the forest lurk in hollowed groves, and magical beasts of strange design move with a purpose and awareness that make even seasoned travelers cautious. They are neither cruel nor benign. They exist according to their own logic, responding to trespassers and allies alike. Finn learns to watch and listen before acting, understanding that in dark fantasy Ooh, the natural order, magical and mundane alike, demands respect and careful observation. Each encounter, whether frightening or fleetingly beautiful, becomes part of the rhythm of survival, shaping the travelers into beings as attuned to the land as the land is to them. Even the air carries a weight here, thick with mist, faint sparks of residual magic, and the echoes of long-forgotten songs. Every footstep, every sound, every flicker of light feels amplified, drawing attention to the tension between beauty and peril. Finn often finds that moments of serenity are fleeting but profound. A quiet glade illuminated by silver moonlight, the gentle hum of a magically suspended pond, or the soft rustle of leaves stirred by an unseen spirit. These moments remind him that even in darkness there is wonder, that even in a world shaped by sorrow and danger, fleeting glimpses of grace can guide a traveler's heart. As night deepens over the fractured landscapes of this dark fantasy the shadows grow long, curling around ruined towers, shattered bridges, and gnarled forests. The sky, painted in deep indigo and bruised purple, stretches endlessly, dotted with cold, distant stars that seem closer than usual, almost pressing their quiet luminescence upon the world below. Finn and Jake often pause to watch this night sky, recognizing that the silence itself is alive, a heavy, thoughtful companion to the dangers and wonders scattered across the land. The air carries both weight and clarity, and with it comes a sense that every choice, every path taken, resonates far beyond the travelers who make them. Finn, weary from long days of wandering through twisted forests and ruined keeps, often reflects on the delicate balance between bravery and caution. Here, heroism is quieter, less celebrated, and often invisible to the world at large. It is the courage to step carefully across a crumbling bridge, to trust instincts when the mist hides unseen threats, to offer kindness to a creature whose motives remain uncertain. These acts, small yet significant, become the heartbeat of dark fantasy a rhythm that sustains both the travelers and the land. Finn moves with thoughtfulness now, each motion deliberate, each glance scanning for signs of life, of danger, or of long-forgotten magic whispering from the stones. Jake remains a tether of warmth in the oppressive beauty of the land. His shape-shifting allows him to navigate traps, guard his friend, and sometimes form bridges of flesh across chasms, his body bending with uncanny precision. He can stretch into dark, jagged forms that mimic the twisted shapes of the surrounding ruins, blending into shadow and light with ease. Even in his most monstrous forms, there is an underlying humor and lightness, a reminder that companionship and loyalty persist even in a world that seems steeped in shadow. The bond between Finn and Jake is amplified here, becoming a quiet, unspoken lifeline in a land where every creaking tree and shifting fog might hold peril. Princess Bubblegum's fortress dominates the landscape, a jagged beacon of intellect and resilience. Its towers are tipped with spires that gleam faintly under moonlight, and corridors twist like the threads of a vast, intricate spell. Within, PB moves with precision and quiet authority, carefully crafting solutions that blend magic and science. Her mind is constantly engaged, weighing risks and anticipating threats. Yet there is a subtle tenderness in her attention to the small lives she oversees, villagers, enchanted creatures, and the very land itself. She is not a distant ruler here, but a guardian who navigates the delicate interplay of power, compassion, and survival, ensuring that even in darkness, life endures. The Ice King, encased in his frosted lament, is a figure of tragic grandeur. His halls shimmer with pale crystalline light, and his voice echoes in empty chambers, carrying songs of longing and memory. The crown that binds him is as much a prison as a source of power, intertwining him with ancient frost spirits and forgotten winters. Yet even in his isolation, moments of vulnerability emerge. A snowflake drifting lazily past a frozen window, the faint glimmer of moonlight on ice, or the soft, almost imperceptible smile of a remembered friendship brings fleeting warmth. These moments remind us, and Finn and Jake, that even those who seem lost to their own darkness remain capable of tenderness and reflection. Marceline's nocturnal wanderings bring a haunting beauty to the shadowed lands. Her music, resonant and deep, drifts through the forests and ruins, evoking memories of joy and loss, of battles fought and friends remembered. She moves like a wraith through misted paths, her presence both comforting and unsettling, a guide through darkness as well as a living echo of the past. Occasionally, she pauses to play a softer note, allowing the land to breathe with her song, revealing hidden paths or alerting Finn and Jake to dangers yet unseen. In this realm, music itself is a form of magic, shaping the environment, stirring memory, and binding spirits to the rhythms of life and death. Even ordinary elements of the world carry significance. Rivers that might appear stagnant on the surface shimmer with strange, magical currents, hinting at hidden forces beneath. Forests, thick with twisted branches and shadow, hide both predators and secrets. Fallen stone bridges and abandoned towers bear inscriptions, sometimes clear, sometimes worn by centuries, telling stories of triumph, betrayal, or forgotten alliances. Finn and Jake learn to observe carefully, to interpret subtle signs, and to move with patience. Each encounter is a lesson in perception and adaptation, a reminder that in a land governed by both magic and history, survival depends on understanding the rules of both. The remnants of the Mushroom War are especially palpable here. Cities lie in ruin, streets cracked and overgrown, machinery half buried in ash and dirt. The echoes of the past hum faintly in the air, a constant reminder of the fragility of civilizations and the enduring consequences of conflict. Yet in these ruins, life persists. Tiny plants push through broken stones, birds nest in hollowed statues, and magical creatures move cautiously among the debris. Finn and Jake often find themselves piecing together fragments of these lost eras, ancient scrolls, shattered banners, enchanted weapons. And through these small discoveries, they gain insight into the cycles of history and the weight of choices. Dark Fantasy Ooh is a world where danger and beauty coexist in every corner. Shadows can conceal both menace and marvel, and every path is layered with mystery. Finn, Jake, PB, Marceline, and even the Ice King navigate this realm with awareness and reverence, each step a meditation on courage, connection, and empathy. The air carries a quiet tension, and yet within it, a subtle rhythm emerges, a cadence of survival, reflection, and fleeting wonder. Even in the deepest night, there is a sense that the land itself is alive, aware of the travelers who pass through, shaping their journeys with both challenge and quiet guidance. And so, as Finn and Jake pause atop a crumbling tower to survey the shadowed valleys below, the cold wind carrying the whispers of ages past, they understand that heroism here is measured not only by acts of strength, but by patience, observation, and compassion. In the darkened forests and ruined cities, they learn that even a world shaped by sorrow and peril holds pockets of beauty, moments of grace, and the enduring possibility of hope. The land itself teaches them that darkness is not merely to be feared, but to be understood, approached with care, and sometimes embraced for the lessons it carries. Tonight we step into a different rhythm of ooh, one that hums with neon and pulses with the steady beat of distant machinery. Imagine a world where skyscrapers rise like jagged spires, from streets awash in glowing holograms, where rain-slicked alleys glimmer under the constant reflection of 1,000 flickering signs, and where the air carries a mixture of ozone-fused magic, and the faint scent of urban decay. In the cyberpunk ooh, the familiar characters and landscapes we know have been reimagined in shades of electric blue, violet, and crimson, a world where technology intertwines seamlessly with magic, and every corner pulses with quiet tension and possibility. Finn navigates this neon-lit cityscape with a mixture of determination and awe. His traditional adventuring attire is updated with layered modular gear, light armor etched with luminous circuitry that glows faintly as it monitors vital signs and environmental hazards. His sword, once simple and legendary, now hums with integrated techno-magic, its blade capable of slicing through both metal and energy barriers. In the glow of the city, Finn's youthful optimism blends with a heightened awareness. Danger in this ooh is constant, yet it moves in a rhythm that demands attention and adaptability rather than brute force. Every alley might conceal rogue AI creatures, sentient drones, or the lingering traces of rogue magic that twists unpredictably in neon-lit reflections. Jake has adapted beautifully to this cyberpunk landscape. His shape-shifting is enhanced, almost symbiotic with the technology around him. He can stretch into semi-transparent forms to hack into network conduits, slip through vents alongside surveillance drones, or envelop Finn to shield him from both physical and digital threats. His playful demeanor persists, but in this world it is tempered with cunning, with a quiet understanding that survival often relies on improvisation and intuition. Jake's eyes reflect the neon glow of the cityscape, and he moves as though he is part living creature, part digital entity, a bridge between the magical and technological veins of ooh. Princess Bubblegum's kingdom in this cyberpunk ooh rises like a fortress of innovation and vigilance. Towers of shimmering steel and glass pulse with neon circuits, and holographic banners flutter in the artificial wind generated by controlled turbines. Peewee herself is a hybrid of scientist, engineer, and technomancer. She walks through laboratories filled with softly glowing devices that hum with life, where circuits intertwine with arcane runes and algorithms dance alongside spells. Every creation is both functional and alive, a testament to her genius and foresight. She monitors the city constantly, aware that both digital and magical threats lurk in every shadow, and she ensures that her citizens, both human and enchanted, are protected in ways that blend innovation, strategy, and care. The Ice King's presence in this neon owl is both tragic and eerie. His tower rises in the heart of the city like a monument to frozen nostalgia, illuminated by holographic auroras and streaks of artificial lightning. His crown interfaces with the city's energy grid, amplifying his control over localized weather phenomena, yet also tethering him to a network he struggles to fully understand. He drifts through the corridors of his tower with a haunting grace, the hum of machinery blending with his lonely mutterings, creating a soundscape that is both mechanical and mournful. The neon reflections on icy surfaces mirror his longing, capturing the duality of a ruler empowered yet trapped by his own crown, a figure of both awe and quiet sorrow in this urban sprawl. Marceline, as ever, is a wanderer and an observer, moving through the streets and rooftops with effortless grace. Her base has been modified to pulse with both sound and energy, sending vibrations that can manipulate electronic systems as easily as they move stone and air. She glides above neon canals and across rain-slick rooftops, her presence a streak of shadow and music amidst the blinking lights and towering architecture. When she plays, the city itself seems to respond, Holographic ads flicker in patterns, drones hesitate mid-flight, and the faint hum of the power grid bends subtly to her rhythm. Marceline becomes a living interface between the magical and technological layers of Ooh, a reminder that artistry and influence can manifest in forms far beyond brute force. The city itself is alive in ways both beautiful and dangerous. Hovering vehicles streak past at dizzying speeds, their trails reflecting against the wet streets below. Neon signs flicker and pulse with messages both mundane and mysterious, sometimes layered with encrypted magical glyphs that only the trained or curious can decipher. Augmented citizens move through the streets, some enhanced with cybernetic limbs or magical implants, each navigating the complex interplay of urban life and latent enchantment. And in the shadows of alleyways and abandoned sectors, rogue magic pulses with unpredictability, forming strange creatures or phenomena that defy easy explanation. Finn and Jake have learned to move with caution, observation, and intuition, understanding that survival in this ooh requires the blending of instinct, technology, and a touch of old-fashioned courage. The interplay between light and shadow defines the mood here. Rain falls in constant thin sheets, reflecting neon and fractured patterns across pavement and puddles. Fog drifts along the streets, diffusing the glow of signs and creating a surreal, dreamlike atmosphere where perception must be keen and attention constant. Even the architecture is layered with narrative. The arcane runes etched into steel beams, the faint traces of older civilizations hidden beneath layers of neon and metal, the quiet hum of forgotten spells resonating beneath the sound of machinery. Finn often pauses in these moments to observe, recognizing that the city itself is both adversary and guide, shaping the journey of those who move within it, teaching them patience and adaptability. Magic in this cyberpunk ooh has evolved, merging seamlessly with technology. Enchanted drones patrol city sectors, their movements both mechanical and alive. Holographic projections can contain trapped spirits or sentient programs, shifting unpredictably in the night. Spells pulse through power conduits, illuminating entire blocks with sudden bursts of neon-colored energy. Finn and Jake encounter both wonder and threat at every turn, understanding that mastery of this world requires flexibility, observation, and collaboration. Every encounter feels deliberate, every discovery carries weight, and every shadow hides the possibility of insight or danger. As Finn and Jake move deeper into the cyberpunk ooh, the interplay between neon light and shadow becomes a constant companion. Streets twist through districts of gleaming skyscrapers where massive digital billboards project animated scenes of past adventures, promotional spells, and cryptic messages only visible to those with arcane attunement. The air carries a faint electrical charge, a low hum that seems to synchronize with the pulses of the city itself. Here, even the smallest sounds are amplified. The hiss of steam from vents, the soft whir of drones overhead, the tap of Finn's boots against metal grates, each adding to the symphony of a city that is alive, watching, and listening. Jake becomes more than companion. He is a conduit between the physical and digital landscapes. In one moment, he might stretch into a serpentine form to snake through conduits, gathering data or redirecting energy flows to clear a path. In another, he takes the shape of a shield, absorbing a surge of rogue magical energy before it reaches Finn. His flexibility is both literal and metaphorical, adapting to the unpredictable fusion of technology and enchantment that defines this ooh. Yet beneath this adaptability, Jake's warmth remains, a reminder that even amidst neon and circuitry, friendship is a stabilizing force, grounding Finn in moments of uncertainty. Princess Bubblegum's technological genius shines in this luminous, complex city. Her laboratories are vast, filled with towers of softly glowing servers intertwined with shelves of alchemical instruments and enchanted crystals. Every system she creates hums with dual energy, digital computation paired with magical resonance. PB monitors city networks, scanning for disruptions, both magical and technical, and deploying solutions that range from precise digital algorithms to small enchantments that recalibrate the flow of power. She is patient, calculating, and ever aware that the city's intricate systems mirror the delicate balance of her own leadership. Here, wisdom is manifested not in brute force, but in foresight and innovation. And she embodies the quiet patience required to maintain order in a city alive with both wonder and danger. The Ice King's presence in this cyberpunk ooh takes on a hauntingly mechanical melancholy. His tower looms over the city like a frozen spire, its crystalline surface reflecting streams of neon light. The crown interfaces with the city's energy network, amplifying his magical abilities while also tethering him to currents beyond his full comprehension. He drifts through corridors lined with glowing frost and circuitry, muttering to spectral echoes that only he perceives. At times, the hum of machinery and the soft crackle of electricity seem to respond to his emotions, giving his isolation a subtle rhythm, a strange poetry. Even in moments of frustration or folly, there is beauty in the way the ice, light, and energy dance together, tracing the outline of a lonely figure whose power is as fragile as it is formidable. Marceline navigates this world with ease, a nocturnal artist whose music interacts with the digital and magical layers of the city. Her bass has been augmented with neon-etched runes and energy conduits, allowing her notes to ripple across networks, manipulate drones, or illuminate hidden glyphs in the architecture. She glides along rooftops and across glowing walkways, her shadow blending with the shifting reflections of neon. When she plays, the city seems to respond. Holographic signs flicker in time with her chords, streetlights sway, and the hum of machinery harmonizes with her melody. Marceline becomes a living interface between magic and technology, demonstrating that even in a world dominated by circuits and holograms, artistry remains a potent, transformative force. The citizens of this cyberpunk ooh are a mixture of enchanted and augmented, each adapted to the demands of the city. Some have cybernetic limbs infused with magic. Others carry enchanted devices that allow communication across both physical and ethereal networks. The streets are alive with movement, shadows interspersed with bursts of glowing energy as people and creatures navigate the urban labyrinth. Even the smallest gestures, handshakes, exchange glances, or the passing of a data crystal imbued with minor spells, carry layers of meaning, evidence of a culture that has learned to coexist with both technology and enchantment. Finn and Jake learn to observe these subtle signals, understanding that survival and success in this city require more than strength or skill. They demand perception, intuition, and careful attention. The fusion of magic and technology creates pockets of both beauty and peril. Neon-lit alleyways might hide rogue spirits, corrupted code, or overcharged enchantments ready to surge unexpectedly. Skyscrapers pulse with energy that can either aid travelers or overwhelm them if approached carelessly. Holographic projections overlay reality with illusions or warnings, creating a layered perception of space and danger. Finn and Jake often pause to assess these challenges, recognizing that in cyberpunk ooh, every choice carries potential consequences, and even a single misstep can ripple through both the physical and magical networks that define the city's existence. The Mushroom War has left subtle traces here, reshaped by centuries of reconstruction and technological integration. Abandoned districts bear faint magical residues, faintly glowing beneath the neon glow, while streets once devastated now teem with hybrid constructs, machines imbued with spells, automatons that patrol alongside enchanted guardians. These remnants serve as both warning and lesson, teaching Finn, Jake, and the inhabitants that history shapes the present, and that power, whether magical or technological, must be respected and understood. Even amidst the hum of servers, flicker of holograms, and glow of enchanted street lamps, there is a sense of memory embedded in every surface, a story waiting to be deciphered by those willing to observe. The cyberpunk city is alive in every sense, a network of energy, magic, and human experience. Rain often falls in thin, shimmering sheets, reflecting the neon glow in fractured patterns across streets and alleys. Puddles ripple with residual magic, and even the smallest spark from a conduit can create fleeting visual symphonies of light. Finn, Jake, Marceline, PB, and even the Ice King move through this world with heightened awareness, attuned to both danger and wonder, navigating a space where every shadow, every reflection, every hum of energy carries meaning. Here, life is measured not just in survival, but in adaptation, connection, and the ability to read the rhythms of a city that pulses with hidden intelligence. As night deepens in the cyberpunk ooh, the city transforms into a symphony of light and shadow. Neon signs flare in bursts, casting kaleidoscopic reflections on rain-soaked streets. Holographic advertisements drift lazily above the crowds, their flickering images blending with enchanted symbols embedded in the walls and walkways. Finn and Jake navigate the cityscape with careful attention, their senses heightened to the interplay of danger and opportunity. Every alleyway, every rooftop, every flicker of light holds the potential for discovery or peril. The city teaches them patience, resilience, and the quiet art of observation, reminding them that even in a world dominated by technology, attentiveness and intuition remain vital. Jake's shape-shifting is a perfect counterpoint to the urban environment. He stretches across rooftops to create bridges for Finn, morphs into shields to block bursts of rogue energy, or coils into serpentine forms to slip unnoticed through vents and conduits. His playful demeanor persists, though it is honed by necessity, shaped by a city that rewards ingenuity as much as bravery. At times, he becomes a luminous form himself, reflecting neon light to guide Finn through misty streets or to distract mechanical sentinels that patrol with precise, unyielding vigilance. In this way, Jake embodies the fusion of magic and technology, a living reminder that adaptability and creativity are as essential as strength. Princess Bubblegum's influence in cyberpunk ooh is as pervasive as it is subtle. Her fortress rises in the city's heart, a place of pulsing lights, humming circuits, and softly glowing runes. Here, science and magic coexist seamlessly. PB moves through laboratories where holographic displays hover over enchanted crystals, analyzing energy flows and magical anomalies in real time. She coordinates city-wide protections, deploying drones, enchantments, and digital guardians to maintain balance. Yet her leadership is not solely about control. It is about guidance, foresight, and nurturing the potential in others. Citizens, both augmented and enchanted, flourish under her watch, learning that discipline and creativity can coexist, and that survival depends not only on skill, but also on understanding and cooperation. The Ice King, isolated in his high-tech spire, is both a figure of power and of poignant loneliness. His crown interfaces with the city's energy grid, amplifying his frost magic, while tying him to currents he cannot fully command. His corridors glow with the chill of frost and the hum of electricity, and he drifts through them, muttering to echoes that no one else hears. Even amidst the neon brilliance of the city, the cold of his domain casts long shadows, reflections of his own isolation. Yet in fleeting moments, the hum of the city responds to his mood, the flicker of lights, the subtle change in energy flow, creating a strange poetry of melancholy and control, a reminder that even in solitude, he is part of a larger, vibrant network. Marceline's role in Cyberpunk Ooh is mesmerizing. She moves effortlessly across rooftops and narrow streets, her bass pulsing with both music and magical energy, influencing drones, lighting systems, and even the flow of enchanted currents. Her melodies bend the city to her rhythm, transforming chaos into harmony and revealing hidden paths or subtle threats. She becomes both observer and mediator, bridging the divide between technology, magic, and life. Her presence demonstrates that artistry and perception hold power in ways as profound as combat or invention, and that even a single melody can ripple through the fabric of a world alive with light, energy, and latent magic. The city's architecture is alive with narrative. Skyscrapers pulse with energy that responds to inhabitants. Street grids encode hidden enchantments, and every building, conduit, and holographic sign carries layers of meaning. Finn often pauses to read these signals, noting patterns in neon and arcane glyphs alike, understanding that observation and interpretation are as critical as action. Encounters with rogue spirits, corrupted automatons, and unstable enchantments require measured responses. Finn and Jake move deliberately, balancing exploration with caution, curiosity with prudence, learning that in this cyberpunk ooh, the line between danger and opportunity is as thin as a strand of glowing data wire. Even the remnants of the Mushroom War take on a new resonance in this world. Abandoned districts house hybrid machines fused with residual magic, their faint hums echoing in dark alleys. Broken streets now serve as conduits for both energy and enchantment, carrying the subtle traces of history woven to the city's infrastructure. Finn and Jake sometimes stumble across these relics, learning that the past still whispers, shaping present possibilities. Observing carefully, they see that every abandoned factory, every decayed alleyway, every flickering street lamp is part of a larger story, a testament to survival, adaptation, and the enduring influence of history on the living and magical fabric of the city. Rain becomes a constant companion, falling in sheets that refract neon into fractured prisms. Streets glimmer like liquid light, puddles ripple with residual magic, and mist curls along alleyways and rooftops. Every movement disturbs patterns in light and energy, revealing hidden entities or guiding travelers along concealed paths. Finn and Jake adapt to this rhythm, moving with awareness and care. Even in moments of tension, the city offers glimpses of wonder, the soft glow of bioluminescent flora tucked between buildings, a perfectly timed reflection that illuminates a hidden symbol or the faint, harmonious resonance of a street grid attuned to magic. In these moments, the cyberpunk ooh becomes more than a city. It becomes a living, breathing organism, responding to those who inhabit it, rewarding curiosity and teaching vigilance. As Finn and Jake pause atop a high-rise to survey the sprawling neon-lit city below, they sense the delicate balance between chaos and order. Light and shadow intermingle, magic and technology intertwine, danger and beauty coexist. Here, heroism is measured not by brute force, but by insight, observation, and adaptability. Every step, every decision, every melody or gesture resonates within the city's living network. And as the rain falls softly, reflecting the neon glow like tiny stars scattered across the streets, there is a quiet rhythm that guides them onward, a rhythm of resilience, connection, and discovery, teaching that even in a world dominated by circuits and spell work, there is room for wonder, patience, and hope. Tonight we step into a world of quiet contrast, a version of ooh where color is stripped away and every scene feels suspended in time. Imagine the land drawn in stark blacks, whites, and infinite shades of gray, where shadows stretch long across cobblestone streets, and the soft flicker of light and darkness carries every emotion with a gentle clarity. In this silent film, the familiar faces of heroes, villains, and wandering spirits appear as silhouettes, their gestures and expressions exaggerated in ways that tell stories without a single spoken word. Here, movement itself becomes the language of feeling, and the world hums with the subtle poetry of observation, reflection, and emotion. Finn moves through this grayscale ooh like a figure in a dream, his every step deliberate and expressive. His heroic energy remains, yet it is conveyed through the tilt of his head, the sweep of his arm, the decisive arcs of his sword as it catches the light. In the absence of spoken dialogue, Finn's emotions are magnified in subtle ways. The tightening of a jaw, the careful pace of his walk, the brief pause as he observes the landscape around him. The world responds to him with equally expressive gestures. Trees sway with rhythm, their leaves whispering secrets. Shadows elongate and retreat as though alive, hinting at danger or guiding his path. Even silence is filled with meaning, carrying the weight of suspense, humor, or gentle surprise. Jake is a master of expression in this visual language. Without words, his transformations take on an almost cinematic exaggeration. He stretches, shrinks, and contorts with fluid elegance, turning simple actions into storytelling gestures. When he leaps to protect Finn, the motion is both protective and graceful, a visual poem of loyalty. His eyes, the curve of his smile, and the subtle twitch of his limbs convey his humor and warmth with remarkable clarity. Even in stillness, Jake communicates reassurance and intuition, letting viewers feel his presence as a comforting force in a world that communicates through shadow, light, and movement rather than sound. Princess Bubblegum's kingdom emerges as a realm of geometric beauty and meticulous design. The towers, once bright and colorful, now gleam in shades of silver and black, every line and curve highlighted by the play of shadow. In this silent medium, PB's intelligence and authority are communicated through gesture and posture. She moves with precision, adjusting devices, reviewing delicate plans on rotating dials, or observing experiments with a careful, knowing glance. Subtle motions, tipping a vial, leaning over a parchment, raising an eyebrow, convey both thoughtfulness and concern. Even her interactions with the citizens are silent dances of empathy, guidance, and authority, where each movement carries meaning and every glance informs understanding. The Ice King in this black and white ooh is both comical and poignant. His flailing gestures, his exaggerated facial expressions, and the silent drama of his crown glowing faintly with frost capture his loneliness and longing with a visual clarity impossible in a spoken world. He moves through icy landscapes rendered in monochrome, where jagged icicles glint like crystal daggers and snowdrifts swirl in quiet, deliberate arcs. His actions often teeter between absurdity and tragedy, creating a rhythm that is both charming and haunting. Even without words, viewers sense his desires, his isolation, and his occasional fleeting moments of joy, all communicated through shadow, light, and motion. Marceline drifts through silent ooh like a shadowed melody made visible. Her movements are fluid, often exaggerated for the medium, her hair and clothes swaying with deliberate grace. Her bass, though silent to our ears in this imagined form, creates ripples in the environment. Curtains flutter, shadows stretch, and objects tremble slightly as if reacting to vibrations only she can produce. She becomes a visual narrator, a bridge between the story and the audience, communicating emotion and history through posture, gaze, and the fluidity of motion. Her interactions with Finn, Jake, and the landscape itself tell unspoken stories of friendship, mischief, and quiet reflection, allowing viewers to feel the depth of her presence even in absolute silence. The landscapes themselves take on cinematic character. Rolling hills ripple like fabric in the wind, their textures heightened by careful shading and contrast of light. Forests become labyrinths of shadow, each tree exaggerated, each branch a silent indicator of the unseen life within. The remnants of the Mushroom War appear as carefully composed ruins, stark against the gray sky, where broken walls, empty streets, and twisted spires convey history without uttering a single word. Puddles on cobblestones reflect subtle movements of the sky, and mist rolls slowly through alleys and valleys, guiding Finn and Jake through both danger and discovery. Even the smallest details, a flickering candle in a window, the sway of a sign in the wind, carry narrative weight, drawing viewers into a world where observation replaces dialogue and subtlety speaks louder than speech. Magic in this black and white ooh is visual poetry. Spells manifest as trails of light, ripples in the air, or shifting shadows that move with intent. Creatures reveal themselves through silhouette and movement, their presence communicated through posture, gesture, and the delicate play of shading. Finn and Jake's encounters with these phenomena require careful attention, observation, and understanding of nuance. Each movement is amplified, each decision made with care, as the absence of sound transforms the act of noticing into a vital skill. Every shadow could hide enchantment, and every gleam of light might signal guidance, danger, or revelation. The cityscapes and villages in this version of Ooh are equally expressive. Streets twist like ribbons of shadow, rooftops rise and fall with dramatic contrast, and every building seems alive, responding to the inhabitants with subtle shifts in shading or silhouette. The flow of people, creatures, and adventurers is conveyed in movement alone, each frame telling a story of community, conflict, or curiosity. Finn observes these motions with quiet attentiveness, interpreting the patterns of daily life, sensing danger, and finding pockets of wonder hidden in plain sight. Jake's flexible form allows him to interact with these spaces dynamically, stretching, morphing, and reacting to movement in ways that communicate both support and narrative engagement. As Finn and Jake traverse this monochromatic ooh, the rhythms of life become a dance of light and shadow. Streets, once bustling with color, now convey motion and emotion through shape and contrast. Villagers move with deliberate gestures, an outstretched hand to greet a friend, a hurried dash to escape a lurking shadow, a cautious tilt of the head signaling suspicion. Even the smallest creatures are expressive in silhouette, their movements exaggerated to communicate intent and character. Every motion carries meaning, and Finn, guided by careful observation, learns to interpret the nuances of this silent world. Patience becomes a form of insight, and every pause, every glance is laden with significance. Jake's role is elevated in this visual narrative. His shape-shifting abilities allow him to interact with the environment in ways that are both protective and expressive. He stretches across chasms to create safe paths, morphs into exaggerated shapes to distract potential threats, and coils around Finn to provide comfort or guidance. His movements communicate humor, affection, and vigilance without a single sound, demonstrating that actions can speak more powerfully than words. Jake becomes a living part of the silent choreography of Ooh, moving fluidly through city streets, forests, and ruins, his form both an instrument and a companion in the ongoing story. Princess Bubblegum's ingenuity is also amplified in this medium. Her laboratories and towers, rendered in stark contrast of black and white, become spaces of intrigue and elegance. Every gesture, twisting a dial, sliding a glass vial across a table, inspecting a delicate mechanism, is deliberate and expressive. In the absence of spoken dialogue, her intelligence is communicated through motion and presence. Observing her work, Finn and Jake see the care, patience, and foresight required to maintain her city and protect its inhabitants. Even in moments of tension or challenge, PB's calm precision becomes a visual anchor, guiding others through the complexities of this silent, grayscale world. The Ice King's isolation is heightened by the muted palette. His icy domain, refracted through shades of gray and silver, creates long, dramatic shadows that stretch across empty halls. His movements, often flailing or exaggerated, convey both desperation and whimsy. The crown's magical influence glows faintly in pale highlights, a constant reminder of his power and the loneliness that accompanies it. Despite the silence, viewers sense the depth of his longing, the subtleties of his loneliness, and the brief flashes of mischief and joy that occasionally surface in his gestures. Even in this muted world, his presence is compelling, a visual study in vulnerability and theatricality. Marceline's movements become a silent symphony across rooftops, forests, and ruins. Her hair flows behind her like ink in water, her posture and gestures telling stories of mischief, reflection, and nostalgia. Her bass, though silent in this imagined form, affects the environment subtly. Curtains flutter, shadows shift, and distant objects quiver as if resonating to unheard melodies. She guides Finn and Jake with silent cues, a tilt of her head, or a gentle wave of her hand indicating paths, hidden dangers, or safe places to rest. Through her, the audience perceives emotion, history, and intuition woven seamlessly into the narrative without the need for spoken explanation. Even ordinary objects become storytellers in silent ooh. A flickering lantern in a dark alley signals caution. A creaking door suggests hidden presence, and a slowly drifting feather captures the passage of time. Puddles on cobblestones reflect the world above, multiplying shadows and creating layered images that offer both guidance and mystery. Finn and Jake must navigate these signs with care, learning to interpret the silent language of the environment itself. Every encounter, from a playful sprite to a lurking shadow, is heightened by the medium, and every decision carries weight, amplified by the absence of sound. The remnants of the Mushroom War are rendered in sharp, contrasting imagery. Crumbling towers, collapsed streets, and abandoned machinery appear as stark silhouettes, emphasizing both the fragility and resilience of civilization. The visual contrast between ruin and life, vines creeping over shattered stone, a lone lantern glowing softly in a broken window, creates a poetic tension between decay and hope. Finn and Jake explore these remnants with careful observation, uncovering subtle clues about history, consequence, and the persistence of magic even in the absence of human voices. In Silent Ooh, history speaks through visual storytelling, allowing the landscape itself to guide understanding and evoke emotion. Magic in this realm is defined by motion and light. Spells manifest as luminous trails, shadows, or shifting patterns in the air, each movement carrying intention and effect. Creatures communicate through gesture and rhythm, their forms enhanced in silhouette and shadow to convey presence and intent. Finn and Jake learn that perception is key, that careful observation and attention to subtle cues can reveal both danger and opportunity. Here, silence enhances awareness, transforming every glance, step, and motion into an act of understanding and connection with the world around them. As the sun dips below the horizon in this black and white ooh, the world takes on an almost theatrical quality. Shadows grow longer, stretching across cobblestone streets, twisted forests, and crumbling ruins. The absence of color sharpens perception, turning every flicker of motion into a potential story, every gesture into an important signal. Finn and Jake move with a heightened awareness, learning to interpret subtle cues. The tilt of a branch swaying in the wind, the ripple of a puddle disturbed by unseen footsteps, the rhythmic swaying of a sign as though communicating a warning. In this silent realm, the environment itself becomes a character, guiding travelers with the delicate poetry of motion and light. Jake continues to be a living instrument of expression and protection. His shape-shifting allows him to stretch across vast gaps between rooftops, morph into shadows that merge with the environment, and even form protective shells that envelop Finn in moments of danger. Each transformation is a visual story, fluid and deliberate, conveying loyalty, humor, and intuition. His eyes, exaggerated for emphasis in this cinematic style, communicate warmth, curiosity, and alertness, allowing viewers to feel his presence and emotional state without the need for dialogue. In a world defined by shadow and contrast, Jake becomes both guide and guardian, a companion whose every action carries narrative weight. Princess Bubblegum's calculated movements and precise gestures reveal the depth of her intellect. In the monochrome kingdom, her hands glide across blueprints, rotate delicate mechanisms, and manipulate enchanted devices with exacting care. Even her pauses, leaning slightly forward to examine a magical construct or tilting her head in contemplation, speak volumes about her thought process. Her kingdom, a delicate balance of magic and machinery, thrives under her guidance. Citizens navigate the silent streets, moving in patterns influenced by her strategic placement of enchantments and protective spells. In this world, leadership is conveyed through motion, and PB's grace and precision communicate authority and wisdom as effectively as words ever could. The Ice King is both humorous and tragic in this silent duel. His exaggerated gestures and comic flailing are punctuated by moments of stillness, where his posture and expression convey longing and isolation. The crown's faint glow illuminates his face, revealing the weight of centuries spent in solitude. Shadows dance across frozen corridors as he wanders, muttering to himself in an imagined voice that the audience can hear only through the subtle movements of his lips and expressive body language. Even without sound, his presence is compelling, equal parts menace, whimsy, and vulnerability, demonstrating the silent film medium's power to evoke both empathy and tension through purely visual storytelling. Marceline's presence is a study in elegance and nuance. Her hair flows behind her as she moves, exaggerating motion in the silent, cinematic style. Her bass, though not producing audible sound in this imagined form, resonates visibly in the environment. Curtains flutter, shadows bend, and small objects vibrate in response. She glides along rooftops and through forests with fluid grace, using gestures to signal danger, indicate safe paths, or communicate emotion. Marceline becomes a living narrator in this world, guiding Finn and Jake while simultaneously revealing the hidden poetry of their environment. Her presence reminds viewers that even in silence, artistry and intuition can shape perception and understanding. Even the mundane becomes extraordinary in this world. Puddles reflect light in fractured, shifting patterns that hint at unseen movement. Doors creak with meaning, signaling entry or danger. Trees sway with deliberate rhythm, casting shadows that guide or mislead travelers. Every movement of flora and fauna, no matter how subtle, communicates intent and context. Finn and Jake move with a sense of mindfulness, attuned to the environment's cues, understanding that in this silent ooh, perception is survival and observation is a form of storytelling. Each step becomes a meditation, each pause an opportunity to learn the unspoken language of the land. The remnants of past conflicts are equally expressive. Ruined castles, collapsed streets, and abandoned villages are rendered in stark contrasts, highlighting the fragility of civilization and the passage of time. Vines creep over broken stonework, wind disturbs loose rubble, and flickering lanterns in windows suggest life or the memory of it. Finn and Jake explore these remnants with careful attention, piecing together narratives left behind in shadow and light. History is encoded not in words, but in the visual language of the world itself. Shapes, movement, and contrast that speak to endurance, consequence, and the persistence of magic even in the quietest corners of ooh. Magic manifests as visible, dynamic patterns that trace the motion of spells in the air. Sparks, trails of light, and shifting shadows indicate power and intent, communicating meaning in ways that replace dialogue. Creatures convey emotion and threat through posture, speed, and form, requiring Finn and Jake to interpret their behavior with precision. Every interaction becomes a study in observation and intuition, teaching that even in a world devoid of spoken language, understanding and connection remain possible. The silent ooh emphasizes attentiveness, patience, and subtlety, allowing even the smallest gesture to hold profound narrative significance. As night deepens in the silent black and white ooh, the world takes on an almost theatrical stillness, where every shadow and glint of light carries intention. Streets glimmer under the faint reflection of moonlight, puddles ripple gently with the passing wind, and distant spires cast long, elegant silhouettes across the landscape. Finn and Jake move deliberately, their footsteps echoing softly against stone and metal, each pause and glance telling a story of caution, curiosity, and wonder. The absence of sound heightens awareness, transforming even the simplest action, a hand extended to a friend, a glance at a distant tower, a slight tilt of the head, into an intimate conversation with the world. Jake's shape-shifting reaches new levels of expressive artistry. He coils, stretches, and flattens into shapes that read like visual poetry, each motion designed to communicate, protect, or guide. When he stretches across a chasm to form a bridge for Finn, the elegance of his movement tells of both ingenuity and care. When he morphs into a shield or a sprawling shadow to obscure the duo from unseen threats, his form conveys humor, empathy, and courage simultaneously. In this medium, Jake's presence is amplified, his loyalty and warmth visible in every gesture, an unspoken reminder that companionship is a narrative force as compelling as any magical power or heroic sword. Princess Bubblegum's intellect and leadership manifest through deliberate, meaningful motion. In her grayscale laboratories, she manipulates devices with precision, adjusts charts and diagrams with careful hands, and surveys experiments with measured attention. Every gesture communicates understanding, foresight, and responsibility. When she instructs assistants, the subtlest hand wave or tilt of the head conveys authority and guidance. Her kingdom, bathed in light and shadow, functions as a living extension of her thought. Its rhythms synchronize with her care and vigilance. Citizens move fluidly through her designs, interacting with subtle enchantments and mechanisms that communicate without words, their safety and prosperity a testament to PB's quiet genius. The Ice King's dramatic expressions and exaggerated movements reveal both his comic absurdity and his underlying loneliness. He flails, stomps, and glances skyward, the crown glowing faintly, casting soft reflections on icy surfaces. Even in moments of slapstick frustration, the stark contrasts of shadow and light reveal his inner sorrow. Silent gestures, a drooped shoulder, a hesitant step, a lingering look at a distant figure, tell stories of longing, isolation, and the desire for connection. The frozen halls of his tower, glinting like cut crystal, amplify these emotions, transforming his solitude into a visual narrative both poignant and compelling. The audience can feel the rhythm of his days, the melancholy of repeated attempts at companionship, and the quiet moments of fleeting joy that break through his icy exterior. Marceline glides through this silent ooh with grace, her movements fluid, rhythmic, and expressive. Her hair flows behind her in waves, exaggerating motion in a style reminiscent of early cinema. Though her base is silent in this imagined world, its influence is visually represented. Curtains sway, shadows dance, and distant objects quiver as if responding to her unseen vibrations. She communicates with Finn and Jake through gestures, guiding them towards safe paths, warning of hidden danger, or celebrating small victories. Her presence transforms the landscape into an interactive stage, where every element responds subtly to her motion, revealing the depth of her influence and the emotional resonance of her companionship. Even the ordinary landscapes carry narrative weight in this ode. Trees bend and sway as though whispering secrets, leaves scattered to signal approach or retreat, and wind shifts with delicate emphasis on movement and shadow. Puddles, lanterns, and broken architecture reflect the subtle interplay of past and present, danger and safety. Finn and Jake learn to read these visual cues carefully, understanding that survival and insight require attentiveness and interpretation. Every stone, every beam of light, every shift in shadow contributes to the silent storytelling of the world, creating a continuous dialogue with its observers that replaces words with observation and intuition. The ruins of the Mushroom War speak through composition and contrast. Collapsed towers, twisted streets, and shattered vehicles appear as stark silhouettes against pale skies, emphasizing fragility, loss, and the endurance of memory. Vines and moss reclaim shattered buildings, creating textures that contrast life and decay. Finn and Jake explore these remnants, piecing together the echoes of history and understanding the consequences of past choices. In the silent world, history communicates visually through form, shadow, and movement, teaching lessons in resilience, adaptation, and quiet reflection. Each discovery is heightened, allowing the characters and audience alike to feel the weight of time and the persistence of magic and memory. Magic itself is a visual spectacle in black and white ooh. Spells ripple through the air as arcs of light or flowing shadows. Creatures communicate intent and emotion through posture, and enchanted items shift subtly to convey purpose. Finn and Jake interpret these visual signals with precision, learning that attentiveness and perception are essential in a world where sound cannot guide them. Every motion, gesture, and ripple of magic becomes an instrument of storytelling, emphasizing that heroism, wisdom, and empathy can be expressed silently through observation, interpretation, and connection with the environment. And so, as Finn and Jake pause atop a hill overlooking a grayscale village, the moonlight casting long shadows across rooftops, they understand the rhythm of this silent ooh. Heroism is measured in observation and empathy. Companionship is expressed in gestures and movement, and every shadow and reflection carries meaning. The world communicates in visual poetry, and those who listen with their eyes rather than ears discover a depth of story, emotion, and wonder that words could never fully convey. Here, the silence is not emptiness, but a space of reflection, understanding, and quiet magic. where even the smallest gesture becomes a story, and every movement is a thread woven into the rich tapestry of the land. Tonight we voyage into a version of U, steeped in the grandeur and mystery of Norse mythology, a land where towering fjords rise like jagged runes against the sky, rivers run deep and cold as Yggdrasil's roots, and the wind carries the whispered echoes of ancient deities. In this reimagined U, the familiar faces of heroes and wanderers are entwined with the archetypes of gods, giants, and legendary creatures, where destiny is both a burden and a guide, and the very earth seems alive with cosmic purpose. The land itself feels ancient, timeless, as if every valley, forest, and ruined hall remembers the deeds of those who walked before. Finn strides through this mythic U as a young warrior chosen by fate. His sword, once simple and shining, now gleams like a blade forged in the forges of the gods, inscribed with runes that glow faintly with protective magic. Each swing of the sword carries weight and history, and each decision he makes feels guided by an unseen hand, as if the threads of destiny themselves are weaving through him. His cloak, thick and heavy against the northern winds, flutters like banners in battle, and his gaze carries both curiosity and reverence for the ancient world around him. Mountains loom in the distance like the spines of old titans, and fjords carve the land into dramatic passages where myths might awaken at any turn. Jake transforms into a companion befitting this mythic realm. His shape-shifting becomes more than playful agility. He is now akin to a shape-shifting spirit of the Norse sagas, moving seamlessly between forms that allow him to protect, guide, or deceive. At times, he takes the form of a massive wolf or serpent, echoing the legendary beasts of the north, his presence both comforting and formidable. When danger arises, Jake's forms ripple with subtle magic, his eyes glinting with ancient wisdom as he shields Finn or reveals hidden paths through dense forests and treacherous cliffs. In this world, Jake embodies the liminal spaces between myth and reality, blending playful mischief with divine-like presence. Princess Bubblegum's intellect in Norse U manifests as a combination of sorcery and craftsmanship, reminiscent of a wise and powerful seer queen. Her tower resembles a great hall carved from stone and timber, adorned with intricate runes that glimmer with latent magic. Inside, alchemical apparatuses hum with mystical energy, their runes resonating with the northern winds that sweep through the high windows. PB moves with purpose and grace, her gestures deliberate as she consults enchanted scrolls, manipulates magical devices, and interprets the omens etched in stars or reflected in the mirrored waters of her halls. Her leadership is intertwined with the natural and mystical order of the realm, guiding her people with foresight and care, balancing strength, wisdom, and compassion in equal measure. The Ice King transforms into a figure, echoing frost giants and tragic deities of Norse legend. His crown, jagged and icy as the northern glaciers, channels a primordial frost magic that shapes the land itself. His fortress rises from frozen lakes and snow-draped mountains, its halls echoing with the groan of shifting ice and the distant roar of winter storms. He wanders these frozen expanses with the melancholy of a god out of step with time, at once whimsical, dangerous, and profoundly lonely. The wind carries his voice faintly, a haunting echo that blends with the cries of ravens and the hiss of glaciers. Even as he conjures blizzards or commands creatures of frost, there is an air of tragic inevitability about him, a reminder that immense power often walks hand in hand with isolation and longing. Marceline's presence in this mythic U is that of a wandering skald, a being whose songs carry magic, memory and warning. Her base, carved from a branch of a world tree or imbued with the essence of a sleeping dragon, resonates with the land itself. As she moves across frozen plains, misted forests, or jagged mountain passes, her music awakens spirits, stirs the wind, and guides Finn and Jake along their journey. Her shadows flicker like flickering runes, revealing paths or dangers, and her voice, though haunting in whispers here, carries the weight of ancient stories and the secrets of forgotten deities. She embodies both wanderer and storyteller, reminding all who listen that myth is alive and that history, magic, and memory are intertwined. The landscape itself pulses with divine resonance. Forests of colossal trees whisper in the tongues of old spirits. Rivers carve through the land as if shaped by primordial beings, and mountains hold secrets that predate Oo's current age. The skies shift in dramatic patterns, auroras stretching like the arms of the gods themselves, illuminating distant peaks and shadowed valleys. Every encounter, be it with a troll-like creature, a spectral wolf, or a river spirit, is heightened with gravitas, emphasizing that in this realm, every action resonates across time, and every choice carries weight beyond the immediate moment. Finn and Jake learn that caution, observation, and courage are essential companions as they navigate this land where legend and reality are inseparable. Creatures in this world echo the beasts of Norse mythology, yet retain the essence of Oo's inhabitants. Wolves stalk the fringes of forests, their eyes glowing with intelligence and ancestral knowledge. Serpents twist through fjords, their bodies partially submerged, reflecting both threat and majesty. Trolls and enchanted beings emerge from stone and ice, their gestures deliberate and symbolic, and spirits of past adventurers linger along roads and rivers as silent witnesses to the unfolding saga. Magic flows like a living current through the land, animating objects, creatures, and terrain, creating a dynamic interplay between the natural, the divine, and the mystical. Finn and Jake must interpret this language of runes, omens, and instinct as they venture deeper into the mythic Oo. The remnants of the Mushroom War and this Norse-infused Oo take on the air of legendary cataclysms. Crumbled towers, broken weapons, and abandoned settlements appear as ruins of epic battles, their shapes carved and scarred like runes telling stories of hubris, resilience, and transformation. Nature has begun to reclaim these areas with forests, rivers, and frost, slowly integrating the remnants into the eternal cycle of the land. Finn and Jake explore these relics not only as adventurers but as witnesses, piecing together the echoes of heroic deeds, tragic losses, and enduring wisdom left behind in stone, ice, and earth. Each step across these sacred landscapes teaches reverence, patience, and the quiet understanding that history is alive, and that every creature, every hill, and every river carries the memory of what has come before. As Finn and Jake traverse this mythic Oo, they quickly learn that the land itself is a living archive of legend. Every mountain peak, river bend, and forest glade carries echoes of ancient deeds, whispered through the rustle of leaves, the ripple of water, and the howl of the northern wind. The world teaches that heroism is measured not only by physical courage, but by an awareness of these threads of fate, by respect for the spirits and forces that predate even the oldest remembered history. Finn carries his sword with reverence, sensing that it is more than a weapon. It is a talisman, a conduit for courage, and a vessel for the latent magic that pervades the land. Jake's shape-shifting becomes an indispensable tool in this realm of gods and monsters. He sometimes assumes the form of a towering bear or a great wolf, exuding the presence of creatures that walk the line between mortal and divine. At other times, he morphs into bridges, shields, or serpentine forms to navigate the treacherous terrain of fjords and glaciers. Each transformation is carefully measured, a blend of instinct, magic, and awareness of the land's sacred rules. His playful humor remains, but it is tempered by an almost ritualized understanding of the world's perils and its subtle instructions. In every gesture and form, Jake embodies the balance between joy, loyalty, and the reverence required in a land steeped in myth. Princess Bubblegum's leadership is equally intertwined with the mythic order. Her castle, rising from a fjord like a carved jewel, is a fusion of stone, rune-inscribed metal, and enchanted timber. Within its walls, she consults ancient texts and magical instruments, divining omens and interpreting the movements of celestial bodies. Her decisions resonate beyond her immediate surroundings, affecting the flow of magic, the balance of power among creatures, and the protection of her people. Finn and Jake witness her careful deliberation and subtle guidance, understanding that wisdom in Norse U often lies in patience, foresight, and a willingness to act with both compassion and calculated intent. Her presence reminds them that leadership is an art as much as a responsibility. The Ice King is a tragic figure in this Norse-infused landscape, resembling both a frost giant and a god of winter. His icy fortress looms over frozen fjords, each spire etched with runes of forgotten magic. Snowdrifts swirl around his high towers, and the wind carries his lamenting cries, merging with the distant cries of ravens and the hiss of glaciers. His magic is immense, capable of freezing rivers or summoning storms, yet he is often blind to the consequences of his own actions. In moments of solitude, he is both awe-inspiring and pitiful, a reminder that great power carries profound responsibility. Finn and Jake must navigate his domain with caution, understanding that beneath the surface of mischief lies a being shaped by loneliness, history, and forces beyond his full comprehension. Marceline, as a wandering skald, bridges the mortal and divine, her song shaping the environment and influencing the flow of magic. Her bass, carved from a branch of a world tree, vibrates with the resonance of ancient power. Each note evokes spirits, stirs the winds, and awakens hidden creatures, guiding Finn and Jake along perilous paths and revealing truths often hidden from mortal eyes. Her presence is both guiding and transformative, emphasizing the power of storytelling, memory, and song in a world where myth dictates the rules of survival and perception. She reminds them, and us, that the world is alive with both seen and unseen forces, and that even a single melody can carry the weight of destiny. Creatures of Norse U are magnificent and formidable. Wolves stalk forests with eyes that glow like embers. Giant serpents slither through icy fjords, and trolls emerge from the mountains to challenge travelers, their movements deliberate and laden with symbolic meaning. Spirits of past adventures linger along rivers and in abandoned halls, their silent guidance or warning felt more than heard. Even ordinary animals seem infused with a hint of divinity, acting as messengers or guardians. Finn and Jake must interpret their behavior, gestures, and patterns carefully, learning that knowledge of the land and its mystical inhabitants is essential for survival. Each encounter is a lesson in observation, respect, and the intertwining of courage with understanding. The remnants of the Mushroom War, in this mythic version of U, are monuments of both catastrophe and endurance. Crumbled castles, shattered fortresses, and scattered relics of past civilizations stand as silent witnesses to hubris and the cyclical nature of history. Frost and ivy claim the ruins, blending decay with renewal, and the echoes of past conflicts reverberate through forests, rivers, and mountains. Finn and Jake explore these sites with reverence, piecing together the stories etched into the stones and ice, learning that history and magic are inseparable. Every scar on the landscape carries a narrative, every twisted spire a cautionary tale, and every river whisper a reminder that time and memory flow together, shaping the land and those who walk upon it. Magic in this Norse ooh is primal, woven into the very fabric of the world. Spells ripple like northern lights across the skies, runes carved into rocks and trees glow faintly with protective or destructive power, and enchanted objects carry the weight of history. Finn and Jake's ability to navigate the land relies on perception, intuition, and respect for the forces that inhabit it. Every incantation, every gesture, and every rune encountered teaches them the subtle balance between courage and caution, action and contemplation. In this ooh, heroism is not just physical. It is the ability to read the currents of fate, honor the threads of destiny, and act with wisdom in a world alive with ancient power. As Finn and Jake journey deeper into Norse ooh, the land itself seems to respond to their presence. Mountain passes open like the arms of ancient giants. Rivers whisper guidance in their steady flow, and forests breathe with the subtle rhythms of unseen spirits. Every footstep carries resonance, as if the soil and stone remember those who have walked before, and every breeze seems to carry faint echoes of ancient sagas. Finn's movements are deliberate, guided by intuition and the lessons whispered by the land itself. He senses that heroism here is as much about awareness and respect as it is about strength or courage. Each encounter demands thought, attention, and a reverent understanding of the forces at play. Jake's shape-shifting becomes a living language of adaptation and protection. He mirrors the myths around him, sometimes taking the form of a colossal wolf whose fur blends seamlessly with shadow and frost, or a serpent winding through fjords to scout hidden dangers. At other moments, he becomes protective barriers or bridges over treacherous ice and water, his body moving with the grace and precision of a creature attuned to the mystical currents of the land. In this mythic realm, his humor is tempered by reverence, and his forms communicate both guidance and companionship, reinforcing the bond between the two heroes as they navigate landscapes infused with fate and legend. Princess Bubblegum's intellect and foresight become even more essential in this environment. Her castle, carved into stone and fortified with runes, functions as both sanctuary and observatory. She studies the movements of celestial bodies, consults enchanted scrolls, and interprets omens with quiet precision. Her decisions are subtle but profound, influencing not just the course of events in her kingdom, but the balance of magical and mortal forces across the land. Finn and Jake observe her work with admiration, learning that wisdom in Norse ooh requires patience, a deep understanding of natural and mystical laws, and the courage to act decisively when destiny demands it. Even her smallest gestures, a tilt of the head, a careful turn of a rune-inscribed dial, carry significance and reveal layers of insight. The Ice King's presence in this mythic realm is imposing yet tragic. His towering fortress of ice and stone glimmers in the northern sun, and the sound of cracking glaciers resonates like an ancient warning. Though capable of summoning blizzards and commanding legions of icy creatures, his loneliness permeates the land. A quiet melancholy fell in the sway of trees and the patterns of drifting snow. His movements, sometimes grand and erratic, other times slow and contemplative, communicate both his immense power and his profound isolation. Finn and Jake must approach him with both caution and empathy, understanding that beneath the frost and flurry lies a being shaped by centuries of solitude and longing. Even in conflict, there is a sense of inevitability and pathos, as though every action he takes is guided by forces beyond his control. Marceline's role as the wandering skald grows in significance in Norse Ul. Her music, resonating from her bass carved from a branch of a world tree, carries magic that subtly alters the environment, causing Tonight we arrive at a gentle reflection, a space to consider what it means to reimagine Ul. All our journeys through Ghibli landscapes, dark fantasy realms, cyberpunk cities, silent black and white streets, and Norse mythology have carried us far, but there is a quiet lesson to be found in the act of imagining these transformations. Reimagining Ul is not merely an exercise in aesthetic curiosity. It is a meditation on the elasticity of story, the resilience of characters, and the infinite ways a world can breathe and shift under different lights. It asks us to consider what makes Ul feel familiar, what shapes its magic, and what resonates with us across all its forms. When we place Finn and Jake in a Studio Ghibli universe, we see Ul as a land of wonder and gentle rhythm, where magic is intimate. Landscapes are alive with personality, and every encounter is suffused with a quiet sense of curiosity and emotional resonance. In this Ghibli-inspired Ul, the focus shifts to the nuances of character relationships, the soft interplay of environment and emotion, and the poetry of everyday moments. The heroes and inhabitants move through life not with urgency or spectacle, but with presence and awareness. This lens reminds us that even in a fantastical world, it is often the small details, the tilt of a head, the flutter of a leaf, the warmth of shared laughter that carry the deepest meaning. It's just as a dark fantasy. Ul, on the other hand, illuminates tension and shadow, fear and resilience, but in a way that is still quietly reflective. The land feels ancient, haunted by history and consequence, yet it is alive with choices, courage, and the potential for renewal. Here, danger and beauty intertwine, and Finn and Jake's journeys take on a solemn weight. Every encounter, from the whispering forests to the crumbling towers, invites a deeper understanding of struggle and perseverance. This lens allows us to contemplate the duality of Ul, the coexistence of wonder and darkness, mischief and gravity, play and consequence. It teaches that even in shadows there is light to be discovered, and that heroism can be defined by insight, compassion, and quiet endurance rather than spectacle alone. Cyberpunk Ul offers a different rhythm, one of motion, neon, and the hum of machinery. In this version, the land pulses with the energy of progress, artificial and organic fused together, and Ul becomes a city of constant movement, intrigue, and discovery. Finn and Jake navigate vertical streets, digital labyrinths, and glowing networks of power, their courage and adaptability tested in ways that emphasize ingenuity and perception. Here, the familiar faces of Ul take on roles that highlight survival, resourcefulness, and connection amidst the hum of neon life. The lens of cyberpunk encourages us to consider how environment and society shape character, how relationships adapt under pressure, and how magic and technology can blend to create a world both wondrous and challenging. Silent black and white Ul strips the world to essentials, emphasizing gesture, shadow, and movement. The absence of sound transforms every glance, every motion, and every pause into profound storytelling. Finn and Jake navigate a land where observation and intuition are paramount, where emotion and intention are communicated through body language, light, and shadow alone. This version reminds us that the essence of Ul and any story does not lie solely in dialogue or spectacle. It resides in these subtle interactions, the unspoken bonds, and the poetry that emerges when the world is distilled to its most essential rhythms. It shows us that listening can be Seeing and understanding can arise from patience and attentiveness. Norse Ooh, steeped in myth and legend, elevates the land to cosmic resonance. Mountains, rivers, and forests carry the weight of ancient deeds. Creatures, deities, and spirits move with purpose and consequence. Finn and Jake become not just heroes, but participants in a living tapestry of fate, where every choice echoes across the land and the threads of destiny intersect with intention and courage. Here, Ooh is a place of reverence, where magic, history, and morality intertwine, reminding us that storytelling can honor the past while illuminating the present. It teaches that heroism and growth often emerge from understanding patterns, respecting power, and moving with mindfulness through a world alive with lessons and legacies. Reimagining Ooh in these forms highlights something profound about the nature of storytelling itself. A single world, once firmly defined, can be folded into countless expressions without losing its heart. The essence of Ooh, the friendship, the wonder, the mystery, the magic, remains recognizable even as the textures, tones, and stakes shift. This elasticity allows us to explore facets of character, theme, and environment that may be subtle or hidden in the original narrative. It encourages empathy, perspective, and reflection, asking us to consider how context shapes our experience and understanding of story. When we explore these reimagining, we also discover the remarkable adaptability of the characters themselves. Finn remains the embodiment of courage, curiosity, and empathy. Whether he is wandering tranquil Ghibli meadows, traversing shadowed dark fantasy ruins, navigating neon-lit cyberpunk streets, interpreting subtle gestures in a silent black and white world, or confronting divine forces in Norse Ooh, his essence persists, but the lens through which we perceive him changes, highlighting different aspects of his personality. In Ghibli Ooh, his innocence and wonder are emphasized. In dark fantasy Ooh, his resilience and moral courage come to the forefront. In cyberpunk Ooh, his ingenuity and adaptability are tested. In silent Ooh, his perception and attentiveness shine. And in Norse Ooh, his sense of honor, loyalty, and heroism are magnified. Each version invites us to see him anew, reminding us that character is multifaceted, shaped not only by innate traits, but by the worlds in which it moves. Jake, too, reveals dimensions that might otherwise go unnoticed. In every iteration, his loyalty, humor, and resourcefulness remain, but each world amplifies a different facet of his being. In Ghibli Ooh, he is a playful and nurturing companion, blending humor and warmth into a soft, poetic rhythm. In dark fantasy Ooh, he becomes a protector attuned to danger, his shape-shifting a reflection of survival and adaptability. Cyberpunk Ooh emphasizes his creativity and cunning as he navigates technological hazards and urban complexity. Silent Ooh transforms him into a visual storyteller, communicating emotion and intent through movement alone. Norse Ooh casts him as a liminal figure, a bridge between the mortal and divine, a creature attuned to the currents of fate and legend. These shifts illustrate how environment shapes perception, showing that even familiar beings can reveal new truths under different lights. The act of reimagining Ooh also allows us to reflect on the world itself as a living, malleable entity. Ooh is not merely a backdrop for adventure. It is a character in its own right, responsive to magic, history, culture, and cosmic forces. In Ghibli Ooh, it breathes with gentle whimsy, alive in the textures of wind, water, and leaf. In dark fantasy Ooh, it speaks in shadows, ruins, and haunted forests, telling stories of consequence and endurance. Cyberpunk Ooh pulses with energy, neon, and human ingenuity, emphasizing interconnectedness and technological wonder. Silent Ooh communicates entirely through movement, light, and shadow, teaching us to perceive with attention and empathy. Norse U resonates with cosmic significance, reflecting the cycles of fate, myth, and legacy. Across each version, U demonstrates that worlds are never fixed. They evolve through imagination, perception, and the stories we choose to tell. Beyond aesthetic exploration, these reimaginings encourage us to consider deeper themes and questions. What is heroism when the world's rules change? How do friendship, courage, and moral choice manifest across different contexts? How does environment shape identity, decision-making, and growth? By contemplating these variations, we gain insight not only into the richness of OO, but also into the universality of storytelling itself. Adventure Time's charm and depth lie in its flexibility, its ability to resonate emotionally regardless of setting, and its capacity to explore human experience through surreal, whimsical, and fantastical lenses. Each reimagined U functions as a mirror, reflecting not only the characters, but also the viewer's perception, curiosity, and imagination. Reimagining U is also an invitation to empathy and perspective-taking. By observing familiar characters in unfamiliar contexts, we are reminded that understanding and connection often require us to step outside our expectations. We learn to see courage in different forms, humor in unexpected places, and the persistence of hope even in worlds that seem strange or daunting. Every iteration of O emphasizes that context changes perception, that environment shapes experience, and that empathy is essential to navigating both magical and real landscapes. Finn and Jake's journeys teach that kindness, loyalty, and ingenuity retain their value even when the rules, aesthetics, or stakes shift dramatically. Magic, too, takes on new shades in each reimagining, reinforcing the interplay between character and environment. In Ghibli U, it is intimate, whimsical, and emotionally resonant, shaping relationships and moments of quiet wonder. Dark Fantasy U emphasizes the peril and consequence of magic, highlighting responsibility, risk, and courage. Cyberpunk U integrates magic with technology, a fusion that underscores adaptability, creativity, and interconnected systems. Silent U presents magic visually, requiring observation, intuition, and empathy to interpret its meaning. Norse U presents magic as primal and cosmic, woven into the land, history, and fate itself. Across all iterations, magic is not merely a tool or spectacle. It is a lens through which meaning, choice, and consequence are revealed. Reimagining U also allows us to explore the elasticity of tone, emotion, and narrative depth. In Ghibli-inspired U, we linger on gentle discoveries, quiet connections, and the poetry of nature. Dark Fantasy U draws our attention to struggle, shadow, and the weight of history, showing that even whimsical characters can face profound challenges. Cyberpunk U emphasizes tension, ingenuity, and the dance between order and chaos, reminding us that environments can amplify conflict and creativity simultaneously. Silent U distills emotion to gesture, posture, and shadow, teaching that subtlety can communicate more than words, and that observation can be a profound form of understanding. Norse U elevates narrative to mythic proportions, where heroism, legacy, and fate intertwine in ways that are both humbling and inspiring. Each lens reshapes how we perceive U, yet the essence of the world, the magic, the relationships, the wonder, remains intact, proving the resilience of Adventure Time's core. One of the most beautiful aspects of reimagining U is the opportunity to notice what is constant across every variation. Finn's bravery, Jake's loyalty, Princess Bubblegum's intelligence, Marceline's wisdom and independence, and even the Ice King's complicated blend of mischief and melancholy persist, regardless of the stylistic or narrative shifts. These constants remind us that the heart of Ooh is not in the colors, shadows, or architectural styles, but in its characters and the relationships that tie them to each other and to the land. Reimagining the world does not alter these foundations. It illuminates different facets of personality, choice, and consequence, deepening our understanding of both the world and the beings who inhabit it. It also encourages reflection on the themes that underpin Adventure Time itself, the interplay between chaos and order, joy and sorrow, growth and decay. In every reimagined Ooh, these dualities persist. The balance between light and dark, whimsy and danger, freedom and responsibility remains essential to the narrative. Even in worlds vastly different in style or tone, Finn and Jake navigate these polarities, teaching viewers that adventure is as much internal as it is external, and that understanding oneself, others, and the world is an ongoing journey. The act of imagining Ooh in new contexts brings these lessons into sharper focus, allowing us to appreciate the subtle complexity embedded in a world that, on the surface, may seem simple or playful. Furthermore, exploring Ooh through these different lenses highlights the power of imagination itself. Just as Finn and Jake explore unknown territories, we, as viewers and dreamers, traverse the boundaries of possibility. Reimagining Ooh is a meditation on creativity, how worlds can shift without losing coherence, how narratives can bend while remaining true to their emotional core, and how meaning can emerge from variation. It reminds us that storytelling is inherently dynamic, and that the stories we cherish are alive, capable of transformation, adaptation, and endless reinterpretation. Adventure Time's flexibility serves as an invitation to explore, to question, and to imagine, demonstrating that the magic of Ooh extends far beyond the screen. Reimagining Ooh also deepens our understanding of place and environment as narrative forces. Each variation emphasizes how surroundings shape experience, decision-making, and perception. In Ghibli Ooh, the land is gentle and expressive, nurturing curiosity and reflection. Dark fantasy Ooh conveys consequences, risk, and resilience, teaching that every choice carries weight. Cyberpunk Ooh illustrates the interplay of systems, technology, and adaptability, highlighting strategy, resourcefulness, and creativity. Silent Ooh magnifies observation, empathy, and nonverbal communication, revealing that storytelling transcends language. Norse Ooh immerses characters in mythic cycles of fate, heroism, and cosmic consequence, reminding us that environment and narrative are inseparable. By experiencing Ooh through these varied lenses, we gain insight into the profound role of world building in shaping story, character, and meaning. Perhaps most importantly, reimagining Ooh allows us to reconnect with the essence of wonder. No matter the aesthetic or tonal shift, the world retains its magic, whimsy, and capacity to surprise. Finn and Jake's adventures remind us that curiosity, courage, and connection are timeless values, capable of guiding us even in unfamiliar or challenging landscapes. The act of imagining Ooh anew encourages us to approach both fiction and reality with attentiveness, openness, and reverence for the hidden layers beneath the surface. It teaches that wonder is not a property of a single world, but of perspective, attention, and imagination. This process also illuminates the interplay between familiarity and novelty. Each version of Ooh presents a recognizable foundation, alongside transformative elements that make the world feel fresh. Familiar characters, iconic locations, and essential themes provide comfort and continuity, while stylistic and narrative shifts provoke curiosity, reflection, and discovery. This tension between what is known and what is new mirrors the very nature of storytelling. Growth emerges from exploration. Understanding deepens with perspective. And the richness of narrative comes from its capacity to adapt while remaining true to its core. Finn and Jake, in each iteration, exemplify this balance. Reimagining Ooh ultimately encourages us to reflect on the enduring power of imagination itself. It is a gentle reminder that worlds are never fixed, and that stories are living things capable of infinite expression, and that the essence of adventure lies not solely in what is seen, but in how it is experienced. Each reinterpretation of Ooh, from the serene Ghibli landscapes to the haunting shadows of dark fantasy, the vibrant chaos of cyberpunk, the stark elegance of silent black and white, and the grandeur of Norse myth, reveals a different facet of its magic. Yet across all these versions, the soul of the world remains constant, a place of wonder, discovery, friendship, and the quiet, enduring courage to explore the unknown. By journeying through these imagined oohs, we notice something subtle and profound about our own relationship with stories. We see that familiar characters can teach us new lessons when placed in different circumstances. That familiar lands can evoke different emotions when framed through new perspectives, and that even the most whimsical or fantastical settings hold the capacity to reflect deep truths about life, growth, and connection. Finn and Jake in every world model courage and curiosity, showing us that heroism is flexible, adaptable, and deeply human, or perhaps deeply heroic beyond humanity. They remind us that the spirit of adventure does not reside in the specifics of landscape or design, but in the willingness to face the unknown, to honor the journey, and to remain present in each unfolding moment. The interplay of environment, narrative, and character in these reimagined oohs also highlights a quiet, universal truth, that context shapes meaning. A single character can feel playful and whimsical, somber and courageous, cunning and resilient, depending on the world they inhabit. Every challenge, every encounter, every magical force is interpreted anew by the environment, revealing facets that may have been hidden in the original context. This invites us, the observers, to consider the delicate dance between character and circumstance, between choice and consequence, and between story and perception. The act of reimagining is itself an act of attention, reflection, and empathy, a way of seeing beyond the familiar into the endless possibilities of narrative and experience. Moreover, these variations remind us of the interconnectedness of imagination, emotion, and meaning. In Ghibli Ooh, we feel serenity and wonder. In dark fantasy Ooh, tension and gravitas. In cyberpunk Ooh, urgency and ingenuity. In silent Ooh, observation and subtlety. And in Norse Ooh, awe and reverence. Each interpretation awakens different emotional truths, revealing the richness and versatility of Adventure Time's world. It shows that a story's power is not bound by medium, aesthetic, or tone, but by its ability to touch the mind and heart, to evoke reflection, and to inspire curiosity. The worlds we imagine are mirrors of our inner landscapes, refracting themes of friendship, growth, courage, and the delicate balance between joy and sorrow. In contemplating the meaning of reimagining Ooh, we also uncover the role of play and experimentation in creativity. Imagination thrives when it is allowed to wander, when boundaries are gently tested, and when familiar elements are recontextualized. Adventure Time itself has always been a playground for ideas, an environment where rules bend, reality flexes, and stories emerge organically. By exploring these alternate oohs, we continue this tradition, honoring the spirit of the original while discovering new layers of depth and resonance. Every variation teaches us that creativity is a journey, not a destination, and that the act of imagining can be as transformative and meaningful as the story itself. Perhaps the most important lesson of all is that ooh, in any form, is a reflection of the relationships, choices, and perspectives that define its inhabitants. Finn and Jake's bond remains central across every iteration, illustrating the enduring power of friendship, loyalty, and shared courage. Princess Bubblegum, Marceline, the Ice King, and countless other characters continue to teach lessons about wisdom, empathy, creativity, and resilience. Reimagining the world around them amplifies their qualities, highlights hidden dimensions, and allows us to appreciate their journeys in ways both familiar and surprising. It reminds us that storytelling is not static, but dynamic, capable of infinite reinvention while retaining the emotional truths that make a world meaningful. As we drift toward the end of this exploration, there is a quiet sense of gratitude for the infinite possibilities that imagination affords. To reimagine ooh is to recognize that the worlds we love are living, breathing, and endlessly malleable. It is to honor the characters, landscapes, and narratives that have captivated us while embracing the potential for discovery, reflection, and emotional resonance in ways we may not have considered. Every Ghibli meadow, darkened forest, neon skyline, silent alley, and mythic fjord is an invitation to experience ooh new, to see its magic through a different lens and to appreciate the delicate interplay of story, character, and wonder that defines it. And so, sleepyheads, as you lie back and let your mind wander through these imagined oohs, let yourself feel the wonder, the courage, and the quiet magic that persists, no matter the form. Let the worlds unfold gently in your imagination, and know that adventure, in all its shapes, is never far away. Thank you for joining me on this journey, for exploring the infinite possibilities of ooh, and for allowing your mind to rest amidst its magic, mystery, and beauty. Good night.